Hello, and welcome to Scuttlebutt, the War Movie Review Podcast. We're happy to have you with us as we take a look at films from the dawn of cinema to today. We aim to provide a raw and unapologetic review of each film's cinematography, historical accuracy, and delivery. In the process of analysis, certain details will be revealed. These spoilers are only divulged to ensure a fair assessment of each film. We glide into Zeeland this week with Matthijs van Heijningen Jr.'s World War II epic, The Forgotten Battle. As always, I'm joined by Mike A.
Hello.
It's
Mike B.
It's Heijningen.
No, it's Heijningen. Heijningen.
Yeah, but you still also fucked up the first time, so we both fucked it up. So Heijningen?
Nate.
I don't have an intro because if I fuck it up, Mike's gonna be angry. So hi.
And special guest, YouTuber, and friend of the channel, also our resident Canadian expert, Devon K. or Devonius K. What's up, dude?
Hello.
Welcome back.
Hello.
I'm back, yes. And it's not a Paul Gross movie.
Yeah, this is unique.
We're out of the Paul Gross catalog.
He's got to be like the mascot of the channel. The mascot director of the channel has to be Paul Gross.
And his little Mountie uniform.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Passchendaele wasn't that bad. It was terrible.
The fucking modern one he did was much worse. What was it called?
Hyena Road.
Hyena Road. That one was much worse.
That's Nathan's favorite movie.
Oh, it's
right,
terrible.
Nate?
Yeah.
What?
Hyena Road.
Hyena Road.
Oh, I love that movie. Soul the Earth, that movie.
Salt of the earth.
Oh gosh.
What a piece of shit you are, Mike.
If everyone wants to see a masterpiece,
I got you hooked on those Liquid Deaths.
Oh
Hold on.
shit! Look at that.
They're delicious. They're amazing.
I was gonna
They are
say, if
amazing.
anyone wants to see a wonderful masterpiece, you should go see Hyena Road. We all gave it a 10 out of 10. It's amazing.
Or as Brian would say, Hyena Road. Sorry, Brian.
Hey, dude, you can do the intro next time.
No,
Anyway, it's easy till you're on the spot. So what'd you guys think?
Yeah.
Oh,
All right.
that's great.
I'm sorry.
I'll actually go first this time. I'll go first because I usually don't go first on the whatever. To do a little disclaimer, Michael A. and Devin and I had done a sort of kind of this before we got involved with Scuttlebutt, right? It never came to fruition yet. It was kind of something that I shit the bed on. And we reviewed this movie in real time and everything. So we have seen it before. However, having those 2 years pass, I have noticed a lot more things in this. And it's a lot worse than I initially thought it was.
So your opinion hasn't improved.
No, it has not, because so we had seen this right before we went and actually shot Reveille and like gone through the editing process and like figured out how actually films are made. This one started out okay, and then it's like you get to the scene in Market Garden where they're like flying the gliders. And I don't think they would have been using B-24s for the gliders, but hey, what do you make the face, Brian?
I didn't see any B-24s. There were Sterlings and there
I was
were
gonna say they're all
Lancasters.
Sterling.
They're Sterlings?
Yeah. Early
Okay.
pre-Lancaster 4-engine bombers that were used, but then later on were used for like parachute drops and other SOE operations, and also used to tow gliders later on in the war.
Okay, cool.
No B-24s.
So anyway,
there.
it looked to me like a fucking B-24. But like anyway, all right, now that we've been corrected on that. So I thought that scene was really cool where like they were towing the gliders and they were just getting over land and they just started getting fucking fist fucked by flak and fucking anti-aircraft fire. Because yeah, they did a daytime jump on September 17th, 1944. And like, okay, shit's going wrong. And then all of a sudden that glider gets hit. They have to go down. That was really cool. I actually liked that scene as a whole, right? From there on, it was just kind of like, let's just climb down this fucking shitty hole and let's just do it slow. Oh, now we're on the ladder. Oh, now we fell. And now we're down into this pit of shit. It's like you started out with something that was okay. And then you climbed into that pit after that fucking scene. And overall, a lot of cool shit, a shitload of continuity errors, like a metric amount of shitload of continuity errors, a metric amount of those. Also, historical accuracy, not great as far as a bunch of things that we'll talk about. But like it had so much potential, but you can tell this is a European made film because of the lack of certain aspects such as firearms etiquette and firearms handling, tactics like placement of artillery and shit like that. And so, yeah, it was like, it was okay. So, Devin,
Yes.
go ahead.
Give
Opening
us your
thoughts.
opinion.
Opening thoughts.
Okay. Well, first off, this movie's not great. I've seen it before, but I'm even if I've seen a movie a million times, I'll still sit there and pay attention to it. I wasn't doing anything else while I was watching the movie. But like, as a Canadian expert, I really don't need to be here for this movie. They didn't do a lot of Canadian stuff, like at all. There's one guy.
What are you talking about?
One
the
guy.
whole entire second half is all Canadian.
They got the turtle
You know,
helmets.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Supposed to be Canadians, but they're all using British stuff with British uniforms. There's one guy in a Canadian uniform, and it's one officer talking when they're in the like barn warehouse thing, and they're like briefing everybody before the attack. There's one guy with a Canadian uniform, one in the entire movie, and it's probably because that guy is like a nerd, and that's his own actual uniform. But like, other than that, everyone's wearing British crap.
I was gonna say,
the
should they be
storyline-
wearing green?
Yeah, because the Canadians never had an Austerley pattern uniform. The 39 pattern battle dress never had exposed buttons. It was more green than brown. They're all wearing British, actually like 44 pattern or later Austerley pattern uniforms, which at that point would have been actually kind of rare to see. You would have seen more P40 uniforms, not really the P44. So, and yeah, just a lot of stuff that's not right continuity wise. So, but and then the whole paratrooper uniforms are all British. They're not Canadian at all.
Well, they're not supposed to be Canadian though.
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff. So it was bad. So it was just really bad.
We could pass the torch on to Felonius.
Oh, we'll pass it on to other Mike.
Okay. Yeah, so I was, I watched this movie with you two, a little over, a year ago now?
2 years.
Yeah, okay.
Almost.
So, and yeah, it's, I think the reason why this movie got a lot of notoriety is because you can tell there is a significant budget. There's a lot of stuff in it. The sets are all really cool looking. They're all very grandiose, and there's a lot of extras, and there's, lots of guns and bunkers and such. It's an interesting thing to make a movie about, this particular battle to single it out. I just don't like the story that's written around it. I don't find it interesting. It's just so I don't know, it's just so annoying to me. I understand if certain people are suckers for this kind of thing. I'm not. It seemed like the first 2/3 of the movie could have been condensed into like the opening 30 minutes, and then the rest of the movie could be about the battle. Like, I don't really care about the doe-eyed pouty lips French girl or Dutch girl, excuse me, and all of that's in her dumb brother and the Rock and everything. I just don't care. And Mike is laughing at me. But
no, it's true.
And I don't know, and the whole like obvious thing where of course this German general who appears very nice at first is going to be an evil baddie. It's like you can smell it from a mile away. It's so obvious. And
he's got the Iron Cross on and everything, Mike. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Knight's Cross, by the way.
Knight's Cross,
yeah,
sorry.
exactly. And he he says, "Oh, of course, I will give him a light treatment," and it's like, of course he's not going to. Like, it's so obvious. And I thought with that, like, okay, if you want to mix this up a little bit, make it a little interesting, in my opinion, anyway, have it be to where this German general guy that's in control of all this stuff going on, maybe he does have like a sense of honor, and he is, like trying to, oh, I actually do want to go about this by the book, but because of shit with other people involved, the SS or whatever, that kid does eventually get killed, in a firing squad. And maybe this German general who was friends with the doctor, maybe he like feels bad about that. That's something, other than just have him killed,
But the Germans gotta be the bad guys. And they all gotta be incompetent and not able to hit shit with their MP40s from 10 feet away.
The one like German, the one German protagonist in this isn't even German, he's Dutch. So it's like, yeah, there's nothing redeemable about any of the Germans in this. But yeah, and then I just don't really care about what's going on with the British paratroopers and all that stuff. It's just, there's a lot in this movie that I just don't care about. It just fails to grab me. Even though there's a lot of things that look cool in it, the glider stuff looks neat. Yeah, it just story-wise, just was really lacking in my opinion. Brian.
Another cool thing about this movie, it's called The Forgotten Battle, but I don't think anybody who's been making movies since like the 60s has ever forgotten about Operation Market Garden.
Well, I think it's funny.
I'm just saying.
I think it's funny it's called The Forgotten Battle because I forget about everything in it. I was like trying to, because we'd watched this and I was trying to remember it, because I got to watch it again. I was like, what the fuck even happened in that movie? I don't even remember. But so, okay, I passed it off to Zeeland's.
Yeah.
Brian
so the build off what you have to say, Mike. It's what is this movie about?
Yeah.
Like, is it about occupation? Is it about people having to decide what to do under occupation to serve? Is it about the liberation of the Zeelands? Is it about the Canadians that just show up and this is about like?
Is it a resistance film?
What? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's so many things.
Is it about Russia?
Yeah, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
There's a lot to talk about with this film, but like just start it off with is just what was going on, There's just so many things going on and, there's so many cool things this movie has going for it. They had very good sets. They had very good props. They had very good looking actors, but everything else sucked. And in a lot of ways, it just shows the problem with modern day filmmaking. If you really don't have a grasp totally on your subject, and it just is a really sad what could have been. But what is it? Like, and I know we'll get into that, but it's just annoying. And the other thing I don't like about this is that, we're a generation or two removed now from the occupation. So people, when they look at it, they have to ask their grandmothers or whatever, or read books. And, those sources aren't the best. The real people that lived through the German occupation, that made movies in the 50s and 60s and 70s, that showed the brutality of the real occupation are the ones that are on there. Everything since the mid-'80s has been like this courtroom drama of like, ooh, the Germans are here, but I'm going to protect my son. And it's like, no. You're owned. These people are better than you, and they know it, and you're a subject. Like, it just, I hate this courtroom aspect to the resistance or the occupation that you get in modern films. I hate this idea of like the give and take of occupation. It's like, you don't understand. No. Go fuck with the police station and see what happens. That's the exact equivalent. You're playing with fire.
Well, don't worry. They can't shoot a kid hopping over a fence with an MP40. So
oh my God, the worst MP40 gunplay ever.
Can I just say this? But because I was thinking this, Brian, towards the end of the movie, I was like, the girls in the little prison down there. It's like, you just should have just stayed at home, like, and done your, like, why you didn't even get involved in this shit. The same with the kid. It's like, why'd you throw that rock? What the fuck is wrong with you?
Resistance is a personal question. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And it's what is resistance at the end? And I know we've kind of talked about this before, but what is resistance? Resistance is a lot of different things. They showed more of the, violent, like, not the passive resistance, the more aggressive resistance that has, more ramifications, obviously. But I just hate the way it was done after the fact. It's like, this is stupid, I really have to get to Army of Shadows and where it's like, okay, fucking the reality of the situation. And also, why does every single like operation like this turn into a mock version of the Guns of Navarone? There's always a cripple they have to bring with them everywhere, and then they have to leave him behind and dies heroically. And it's like, oh my god, it's just
a trope, dude. Yeah.
what
There was a lot. There was a lot of
movie?
tropes that were collected from a bunch of different films.
Oh, yeah.
That were put
This
in
doesn't
here.
know what it is, but I will leave it with this and then pass it on to Nate. The glider scene was awesome. Very well done, very well shot, very well executed, and that's the only reason to watch this movie. Nate.
No, I will. Everything's pretty much been said when you go last. But I mean, yeah, no, I mean, like this movie, the beginning does really well. It's kind of all over the place in terms of like what are you supposed to be paying attention to, which we've all said. But that glider scene is great. I will say, I enjoyed the movie up to where Draco Malfoy gets Avada Kedavra, like right in the face. You know, like that's where the movie dies for me.
Are you talking about that stupid standoff scene?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like, why would
Yeah,
that guy
that-
even do that?
yeah. No, that's Draco Malfoy who plays that guy. So
Yeah,
that's
from
why-
Harry
yeah,
Potter.
Yeah. Nerd alert.
Harry
Um,
Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone.
and so-
Nerd
uh,
alert. Nerd alert.
And so
Nerd alert.
I loved it until that point, and then it just got like, quick, plug the holes, plug the plot loop holes. Like it was just all over the place, and it was just like, okay, you've lost me. I loved, although as a boater, I am mad that the Germans are that stupid not to check around the corner for guys in the marsh. But you know, like
Yeah, that was so stupid.
I was like, you all should be dead.
That's
3
like something
turns
from like
ago.
a Metal Gear like video game.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, just stand still, they won't see you.
yeah. Like that was the only thing that bothered me. But I will say, where this movie stands out above many is I love the sets, and I love the
Yes.
sets really well in the flooded town.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah, that looks
really
cool.
really fucking cool, and I
Absolutely.
wish we could have stayed the whole entire time in that city, in that
would've been
town.
awesome. Yeah.
like
That-
like a
that's so-
battle in that town. That would have been fucking cool.
Mhm.
Instead,
SPR Zeeland.
yeah.
edition.
Instead, like I get that location probably was miserable to shoot in and all that kind of shit. So that's why they went to dry land, fight on a dike.
But
you
it
know.
looked
Hey, you
great.
can't say that, Nate.
Find a land dike. Does that work for you?
the dike in
No.
parentheses land. Yeah.
Yeah. So when he got to like the Canadians quotation mark, that's when
Oh,
I was gone.
God.
I was like, I'm on my phone.
You just don't even care at that point. You know?
Canucks and quotes.
because I know we're gonna launch into what we launch into the conversation after me, but I mean, you know, there are 2 things that really stood out as like, holy crap, this is like, is gunplay and gun tactics and squad tactics. Horrible. 3 then. I'm adding 3 because I just remembered as I went. The squad tactics, I wanted like, just, you don't cluster 15 feet apart from each other. Don't just charge at them like you look like reenactors. I see that when I'm doing reenacting. I don't want to see it in my films. Like, there's enough fat airborne people who charge at me through the woods. I don't need to fucking see it in a movie.
It's the same with the Germans lining the trenches.
Yeah. Although that's not as egregious, but yeah. I mean, it was horrid. But no. Oh, and to comment on the continuity, I'll hand off to Brian to start. They did so many flips in
I
editing.
noticed the mirror shots.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you notice
MG42?
the
belt is
MG42
on the other
coming out of the
side,
left
yeah.
side? I'm like, wow, that would make the MG42 really good for me if it was made for that, but it's not. And that's how I see these things. So I'm left-handed. So it's like, that's not right. Not at all.
Southpaw.
Yeah. Brian, go ahead.
Yeah, so no, I agree with everyone, and well, like I said in my comment, but I just wanted to jump right into it because I think we all could all.
No,
agree
let's
with
just jump
things.
into it.
That Narva sequence is so fucking shitty. Oh my god.
The
Like,
what
I
sequence?
The Narva sequence, the Eastern Front sequence.
Narvik.
So
The
no,
only
it's
thing
Narva.
the only thing they did right was the firing rate
Narva,
for 41.
July.
It was the only thing they nailed right was a 41.
July, the 42
firing
the rate fire rate as well, but no, the Battle of Narva or the Tannenberg Line, which happened in late summer, early fall of 1944.
Oh
to
shit!
the
Yeah,
west of
okay, never
Narva.
mind. Yeah,
It's in the movie Tannenberg Line, 1944. That's actually a movie we have to get to as well soon. That's really cool. It's actually a really well done Eastern Front movie with like Scandinavians and shit. Nobody's ever seen it. But anyway, that whole fucking Eastern Front sequence is so bad, and how like it's just shot to like I don't know, be this really stupid sequence. The way they use the T-34 is just like being a tanker is just cringe.
It's a bulldozer.
Like,
yeah.
Oh my god, it's just like, dude, hang up on that hill and just fucking anyway. Using acid how you should. Oh my god, it's just like.
Well, I with a lot of the guns in this, I don't know if any live or sorry, not live, but blank ammo was even used, because I saw all of the After Effects muzzle flashes.
There were some scenes that were not present at all, and that my favorite one is a Lee Enfield where it shoots and you see the guy go, it fires, and he goes,
Yeah. The
Like-
fake
like-
recoil.
like,
yeah.
yeah.
What I noticed throughout the fighting and everything, and when I watched it the first time, I really was not impressed, because like the trailers were really cool for it. They mostly focused on the airborne aspect of it, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be cool. Then it turned out to be something different. But I hate the ending battle because of how close it is and everything. It's just like the way it's shot is so bad. But what I realized as I watched the film was all the combat is very, 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 very tightly choreographed for everyone's safety. Like, that's why it looks like shit. And that's why it plays like shit, because they're so safety conscious. And I think that's where, again, it plays into what you said might be a European production. Again, they had a real 88. They had all this really, really, really cool stuff and really, really cool sets, but they were afraid of what they were using.
They put 88 in a spot that they would literally never fucking put it in.
That's movie stuff. Yeah, and that's really shitty.
Yeah.
And they packed the frame. But like, as far as like the comedy is, like, when you watch it and you think about it from the safety aspect,
Yeah,
it's like,
100%. I
Yeah.
been there.
you
Yeah.
know, it's exactly what it
it's-
is. They're herding actors into different places for safety. Not shooting Devin in the fucking chest straight off. It's over there. It's like, it's just way too choreographed, and it's like that when you do that 50 times over a few days,
It's a
you
dance,
lose.
is what it is.
Exactly.
It's a dance.
Yeah,
and
you lose the
it's
fun.
like, yeah,
lose the action.
it doesn't look real at all.
It's not.
Like
That's the why.
it just like with all the combat in this entire film, like it looks so. There's a balance you can get to. Like, you guys they don't actually have to shoot, which is a really cool thing that I don't think a lot of like people understand, like directors and producers and advisors on says, you don't have to make the guys shoot. You just have to make them react to as if they're being shot at. And we did that in WWII. We used those fucking the dirt balls, right?
Yeah, the zirconium balls. Yeah. Mhm.
Yes, and that made those guys fucking react, and most of them didn't shoot, and it still looked okay.
Yep.
I'm not saying it looked good. I'm not saying it looked bad. It looked like okay, like they're reacting to, oh shit, I don't want to get hit by one of those fucking things. Bam, So you don't have to shoot, and they made these guys like that. I've noticed, like in all the combat scenes, they made them shoot at least once, and I'm like, I know it's for the theatrical effect. I get that. But is it worth it for the reality of it? Like,
Are you talking
on.
about the running and
Everything.
shooting and all that? Like,
well, everything, every scene, yeah, the gunplay in general, exactly.
Okay.
And like every scene you see these guys in when they're in combat, they're always shooting back.
right.
It doesn't matter what side it's on or whatever. It's just like they're always shooting back. It's like, well, most of the time in combat, guys don't fire because they're trying to get to cover. And they're scared and they're not thinking about, oh shit, one round's gonna fucking turn this battle. No, they don't think about that. Like,
Cover
that was not
concealment,
at
then
all.
return fire.
What's up, Devin?
Cover concealment, then return fire.
Right, and that was not taken any consideration in this film as far as the gunplay and the combat sequences were concerned, in my opinion.
I will say, in terms of cover, there is some. I'll give this comparison. There was at least knowledge implemented on film of what was concealment and what was cover for some of the battle stuff. And the only reason why I say that is, let's use Siege of Jadotville, which for the most part did, but there are some things where it's like, oh, a 50 cal, I'll use a brick wall, a single layer brick wall. And it's like, at least with this film, I did notice it was dirt or hard concrete. And at least it wasn't like, hey, I hid behind a wagon and it blocked all the MG42 rounds. So I will say they did at least do that for some of the stuff. Like one of the shots that I actually kind of liked was the one with the dragon's teeth that were in the middle of the dike. Phrasing. And
just
and
fucking
it's
say,
just no. I laughed at my own joke.
The earthen levy.
Yeah.
The earthen levy.
Yeah. But him like what I did like was that there was 3 of them, and there was one, his buddy got the middle, he got the one on the right, and this other guy came in and crowded him, and he pushed him out of the way, and then he freaked out, and he went from his one that he was at to his buddies to the third one on the left. I did like that. There were some aspects of the combat I did like, but majority of it is just low crawling through MG fire. They all got screwed with no smoke cover. No, they would have been given smoke cover, at least something somewhere, somehow. Like there should have been something else. And if we want to pick apart it as reality, it's like there would have been smoke cover. There would have been something to keep them from keep advancing up through heavy fortified locations like that. And the thing is that was not portrayed in the film. They're just slaughtered into this, fucking thing.
I think we should ask Devin about this, because you had a good rant when we initially did this about, okay, would the Canadian Army ever do something like that? And if so, what would their tactics be? So why don't you take over, Devin?
They would never have actually done anything like that. Not even close. I mean, there's not a lot of Canadians, and there's not...
You're saying what they did in the film, or what I'm suggesting?
They just wouldn't have done anything like what they did in the film.
Gotcha.
They all clustered together, running along the top of
yeah.
Well, that's what a lot of these movies depict. The armies, they're just a big mob that just run into shit.
Chinese wave tactics. That's what I thought of this.
Yeah. And that's pretty much what it looked like. And it's like, they wouldn't have done that. And like at the time of the day they did the attack too, there actually would have been like a ton of fog, because there is like pretty much every day at that point, especially in the fall. And there's just bright sunshine, open land. There's really no defenses either on like the German side. It's literally just guys running on top of a dirt mound. That's
so Devin, say they actually they were retarded enough to do this, right?
Yeah.
Say the Canadians, like, they got a shitty leader or something, and they were stupid enough to do this kind of thing. How would it have compared to what they portrayed in the film versus real life?
Well, first of all, the Canadians probably would have shot the commander, and then they would have got a different commander and did a different attack, because that's just literally wasting troops. And that's all it would have been in the time too. If somebody would have been like, you're fucking crazy. Like, we can't do this. That's just a waste. One guy with an MG42 gonna rake across there, and next thing you know, you got 70 fucking casualties. Like, there's no place for them to hide. They're not spread out. They're all holding their weapons wrong. They're doing this. They're not advancing how you would advance. They're literally just like slightly hunched over, jogging across open terrain in a tight cluster. Like, nobody, not since the days of like, we gotta siege Jerusalem with our swords, would have ever been in that tight of a formation. Like, it doesn't make any sense, and it's a waste of human life and resources to do that, and nobody would have ever done that. Yes.
And on top of all that, you have like incognito Canadian man.
Yeah.
Like, as far as we know, he went home to Canada and just assumed someone's identity. Like, no, like, you just had this crazy ordeal. Wow, you didn't die. Now you go to your unit. Like,
Well, and also, really, I want to point this out. He was a glider pilot.
Wearing the wrong helmet, before I forget.
They
have the wrong helmets for the glider
They
pilots.
have not been. So
Glider pilots had this crazy fucking like brown painted. It's a mix between a dispatch rider's helmet and a Mark I fiber helmet, and it's got like the big crazy ears on the side. It looks really cool. They have them in the original Bridge Too Far. They're very rare, but they just used RAF flight caps.
So
instead of using the
okay,
white one.
so we're gonna try to get the film the benefit of the doubt. Could he have shit canned that and grabbed one off of a dead
No.
guy?
No, because glider pilots use a very specific thing.
Yeah.
All right, but anyway,
Especially
he's a
British
glider.
pilots.
He's a glider pilot. He's not an infantryman. So as soon as the Canucks picked him up, and he said, "Hey, I'm a glider pilot," would he have not been on the next fucking trip back to fucking England as soon as
It would have
possible?
been like, the lines
Yeah.
are back there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, why
Yeah.
would they fold
Right.
it into that
Yeah.
unit? Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's a bunch of
No.
faux Canadian
Yeah.
gear, you know.
Here's your British gear with your fucking Mark III helmet and your fucking. We can't decide whether it's a number 1 or a number 4, but hey,
it would have been all number
Here you go.
4s, but sure.
because it's so different from so many scenes. But like, here you go, and you're now an infantryman because you know everything about that because you're a glider pilot. So yeah, hey,
See, that's such a stupid way to try and tie all of the different parts of the movie together. And it's like
Plot
Yeah.
line subsea. You
Well, it's
know,
like, why even have all
Pepe
that?
Silva.
Unless it's based on an actual thing that happened, why even have all that stuff with the glider guys? Just have like it be a Canadian perspective. Have it
Well,
be a Canadian soldier.
So that did happen. There's actually a really cool portion of Bridge Too Far, the book. So there were 2 routes to Market Garden. There was a northern route and a southern route. The northern route went over Zeeland, and the southern route like kind of went over Belgium and then up Hell's Highway or the Highway 30. I forget what the real name of it was at the time, but
It went
became
across
Hell's Highway.
Flanders and came up from the south. and
Yeah,
then
there.
dropped,
But yeah, the 82nd went to the south, and the 101st and the 1st Airborne went to the north because there was a bunch of 101st, 82nd Airborne, or 101st C-47s that didn't make it in gliders. And there's a few stories of like one guy his fucking plane crashed and his whole stick drowned except for him, and he was able to get captured. Some very fascinating stories that come out of this. There was, like they show in the film, incredibly heavy flak over these areas. You know, because they already had these flak batteries.
daytime
for the-
fucking jump. It's
Yeah.
like,
Well, there were a few daytime jumps during the war.
yeah, and they all
Um,
fucking failed miserably.
Well, Varsity was the one that was the best, but that was for different reasons.
The
But-
best.
But the Southern, well, I mean, during the day, that went as far as the daytime jumps, it was the least opposed.
It went the closest to planned.
Yes, yeah, but no, the Southern route didn't have any issues. But again, that's because they went over Allied lines. It would have been fine if they did both routes over Allied lines, but unfortunately, it didn't work. But this area was heavily fortified for the bombing operations because a lot of the bombers would fly over Holland to go into northern Germany. So that was the first ring that they would have. Like I think they showed part of that in Memphis Belle. Like the second you hit the coast, you get your first wave of flak. And then it's kind of like, okay, and then you get fighters and stuff, and then you get the really bad flak. So, but the coast is always something to worry about, and it just was unfortunate that these guys flew over the northern route, But on top of that, yeah, there's so many fucking plots. It's like once you
Yeah.
get past a certain point, the film is just like checking off boxes with different lumbering
Well,
plots because
they
it's
try
like,
to do
oh,
a
what happened
Tarantino
there?
thing.
But
They try to do a Tarantino thing of like getting a bunch of different plots initially and then
Bringing
gluing
them all together.
trying to
They
have
all
them
come
merge.
together at the end.
But there is
it's not Dutch fiction.
there's
you
no
know, like,
kind of like with Midway, there's no strong central narrative to tie it all together properly.
Right.
you
It's
know?
all these little stories. It's like they're vignettes.
Yeah.
But
And
it's
like,
not
okay, make a
stories we
series.
needed to hear. We didn't need any of the Russia part. We didn't need any of the like training type stuff. We did. We
What are you
didn't
talking about,
need
Devin? Like,
any of that.
if we didn't know about Russia, like, we wouldn't be able to see him wearing his wound badge on the complete wrong fucking pocket and have an Iron Cross second class.
We
But they
have
could
to
just
know-
give
Nothing
him
else to
that
show
and
for
put
it.
it on his Ron pocket without needing to show Russia. You know,
Exactly.
like
we have to
like
we have to know that our conflicted protagonist is a badass.
the strength of subplot. Oh, sorry, Michael.
No, just that he blew up the tank, even though he's conflicted and I'm Dutch and all this crap. It's just like he's still fucking cool.
you
That's
know
what they're
how
trying to
they
do with
could
that.
show him that he's a badass. He could also be able to like at some point during a battle that takes place like in the Netherlands actually manage to hit stuff with his gun. like you know, like that's all it would take for this guy. Oh, this guy means business. That's all it would take. You didn't need the like hour of this movie that didn't need to be there, showing different parts that have nothing to do with Operation Market Garden.
Also, where the fuck is his tank destruction badge? Just
yeah, he
curious.
didn't get that.
Hey man, shit takes time, okay? Like, paperwork, motherfucker.
It shows up right when he dies. Like,
also the time frame for when he got wounded in Russia in August to arriving on the Western Front is completely unrealistic. But
he left it next to his hospital bed. He was like, "Fuck, I knew I forgot something."
My favorite subplot, 4C, where the glider pilot's father is best friends with Churchill somehow. So let's fit that in there. Like, what? Why?
You're a glider pilot guy. You're not even a real pilot. You're a glider
if you actually
pilot.
are gonna show, like, I thought this was the forgotten battle of the Battle of the Scheldt. I thought they were gonna like show some of that. What they really missed out on is that like a lot at the Battle of the Scheldt, a lot of the Canadians used American Amtraks and stuff like that. That would have been fucking awesome to see that stuff.
Yeah, and Ryan Crossing too for Varsity, they use a lot of
a lot of those, for like stuff you'd see in the Pacific and make Greyhounds and such. But no, you don't. I don't remember even one like armored vehicle in this when it came to the. I think maybe I saw.
No,
one.
it's just the Canadians are just retarded.
Yeah.
Retarded guys that mob forward.
You also can't tell they're Canadian unless you knew that the Canadians were actually there in real life because they look nothing like Canadians. Like.
So okay, really. Go ahead, Brian.
I'll say this quickly. So the vehicles are interesting. They're all over the board. Some are, they're all World War II-esque. Some of the British stuff is very early, and it's not really correct. Like there's a very early reconnaissance car that really shouldn't be there, but
I saw that. Whatever that one was.
Yeah, it has the 2 turrets on the top. It's got a special name. And then the German stuff looked okay. It's nice coupe wagons, and they had some very nicely camouflaged vehicles too. Whoever the vehicle owners that showed up did a good job.
Yeah.
The
those were good.
Over the mirrors or the windshields and stuff.
Yep.
My biggest problem was the cargo that they have in the glider. 3 guys in a Jeep? The fuck? Like that's no. You're using, this is the biggest airlift ever. You're using every single inch. Like that. No, it's either platoon of guys or like 10 guys.
You have 16 fucking guys.
No. There's no way there's 3 random fucks in a Jeep. Like that. No, that's valuable space. Fuck
it's an important Jeep, okay?
Yeah, I love Jeeps too, get me wrong. Especially British airborne Jeeps because they're really cool. But like fucking
Brian, don't worry. A colonel steel bolted a bunch of steel to the bottom of it to make it bulletproof. That's why it crashed, Brian.
No, that never happened.
Nice reference there, Nate.
No.
Thank you.
Got that one.
All right, so what are you gonna say, Nate? The fucking floor is yours.
Well, no, I wanted to ask Brian a question. What was that vehicle when he's joining up with the Canadians? It's when he's rolling out, and it's like this like weird like scout vehicle.
Pull it up.
All right, fine. Give me a second.
Pull it
Go
up.
on, I'll pull it up.
The half tracks are wrong too. They're all
dude.
There
Don't
were
get me
3
started on the
companies.
bunkers and stuff like that.
Well, there were 3 companies that made half tracks during the war.
Were there MG-42s in them, Mike A?
Those bunkers are completely non-existent, so don't even go there.
There was Diamond T, there was International Harvester, and there was White. International Harvester made all the half tracks for the exportation. So like Russia got international, and the Commonwealth countries, they got international half tracks. And the way you can tell is they have curved armor on the rear. And a lot of times when you watch movies, for example, Kelly's Heroes use the wrong half tracks the other way around. They use British half tracks when they should be using American half tracks. But it's the squareness of the armor. So that's the first British or Canadian vehicle you see, and it's got the winch on it and everything when you see crosses over.
So Devin, Canadian troops using UK equipment. When did that become a big thing, like in the First World War?
There is one instance of Canadian troops using obviously they would use British guns and stuff like that through the vast majority of the war just because of supply lines. And pretty much all of the Canadian guns would go from Canada to the UK and then be issued out across the services. But there's one instances of Canadians wearing British uniforms, and it's literally 1943 to 44 in Italy. And it's just because the Canadians had no way to get lines to, like, get Canadian uniforms to them. They didn't have supply lines that went all the way to Italy. So And so that's the only instance that we have any documentation of in real life of Canadians wearing British equipment and wearing British uniforms is in Italy.
So okay, so we're past fucking, Overlord.
Yeah.
We're in this, so they're gonna be wearing Canadian.
These would have been fresh Canadians. The only time you're gonna see maybe Canadians even wearing American stuff at this point would have been some stuff that they kept left over from the D-Day landings. But even then would be very few and far between at this point. Next to nothing.
Yeah, so at this point, Canada is supplying.
Stuff.
Yeah, Canada's supplying their troops.
Yes.
With what they need at this point.
The vast majority of them too wouldn't have had Mark III turtle helmets at this point.
That's what I was going to ask about earlier.
The ones that participated in D-Day would have had turtle helmets. You would have seen the vast majority would have been Mark II Brodies.
Mark IIs.
Yeah.
Mark IIs. Yep. That's literally a question I was going to ask you earlier.
Were they piecemealed in, like throughout the rest of the war?
You would see them piecemealed in, but the British would ultimately get first come on their helmets because the Canadians never manufactured turtle helmets. So
I know that. Interesting. I know that like in the winter of 44, 45, you don't see. I mean, you see a lot of hats and stuff and everything else, and then you see some Brody helmets in the spring. But what was like the ratio? I mean, I know it's very hard to say, but
in the Canadian terms, it was about 4/5 of the helmets would have been Brody helmets. So you would have seen about 20% being turtle helmets by the end, and like Canada didn't replace the Mark II Brody until literally the 70s. Wow. That was their standard helmet until the 70s. They never adopted the turtle helmet. All the turtle helmets they had were leased from.
And they went to the M1, correct?
Yes, they went to U.S. Vietnam era M1s. So, and they would stick out those until the CG634. It's like they had Mark II Brody helmets for the longest time. They would get British turtle helmets on lease during Korea and during World War II, but they would all be returned after those conflicts. So
interesting.
Huh? Yeah.
Wow. And on the scale of the British, I mean, you see Brodies till the end of the war, some units, but what was...
You see them about 50-50 with the British. 50-50 turtles and Brodies, so...
Because I know by Korea, it's like hats or like, number 4s when you do see them.
Mm-hmm.
I think Mark 5s by then, actually. But, very interesting to know that.
Yeah.
Canada has these very peculiar
stuff that doesn't make any sense. We're just still using the Brody helmet in the 70s. Just like, yep, hey, man, here we go.
Rhodesia's like about to fall. And here's some guy in Ottawa.
That's right. Man. Let me get my Frisbee out.
What is it?
It's right here. So it's this vehicle. Not that one. Not that one.
You mean the half track?
Following it. What is that?
It's a dingo.
It's a dingo.
What the fuck is a dingo?
It's a scout car.
It's really cool. It's an armored scout car that has an automatic transmission and 2 differentials where you can go. It's got 10 gears and you can go the same speed forward you can in reverse.
Mm-hmm.
So you can literally go 70 miles backwards. Yeah.
Huh. You can do like 60, 70 miles an hour backwards. Yeah.
Yeah. No, dingoes are really fucking cool.
Huh.
And there was Daimlers as well that were in there, which was really neat to see. They're very tall. And Humblers as well was the other British armored car. They were also very tall. And then you see the T-17, or is that the Humbler? Am I getting that?
Also, how come we never saw any universal carriers? Something the British had like a gajillion of that would have definitely been
tons of T-16s everywhere in the States.
Yeah.
Like, that would have been really cool. Like a fucking, imagine like a platoon on carriers.
Yeah, because they would have, that would have been one of the, especially these people that are leading a wave, into a country. There would have been just miles of universal carriers. They were so fucking cheap to make. And it was such a good way to move people and supplies, especially across really wet, muddy terrain like this. And you don't see a single one in the whole movie.
The Brand Carrier is one of the unsung heroes of the war.
It is.
It's like the Commonwealth Jeep, you know? I mean, the Bedfords are great trucks, don't get me wrong, but like...
Having those tracks.
The Universals were great. Yeah, everywhere.
Yeah.
In the deserts, in Normandy, you see a ton of them, and they're just great vehicles, And they have really cool straight 8 engines. A lot of power. It's fucking really great.
Speaking of Bren carriers, I noticed there was an MK3 Bren, and mainly only MK3 Brens in the battle. I know that's
straight
not
mags?
correct. Huh?
High key tell straight mags or
The sights, because the
oh the
MK, because the Mark IIs and the Mark Ones have the circle sight.
Mark IIs also have the rear sight.
No.
Only the Mark One has the
No,
roundel.
I don't know.
There was a
Devin,
transitional
help me out.
There was a
I mean,
transitional model that had the roundel sight, and then
I'm
some of the
pretty
features of the Mark
sure.
1 and
I'm
Mark
pretty
II.
sure Mark One and Mark II had
The
the
Ingalls
radial
Mark II.
sights, and then the 3's the only one with the pop.
Okay, I defer to someone that was born in a Commonwealth country.
So,
Well, I'm asking you.
so the Bren sights are actually like removable because they're all slotted, dovetailed for scopes. Those all
Mhm.
just can come off and be replaced. They had a couple different models of sight, so that could be whatever. If one was damaged, or they could just slide a new one on.
So
Oh,
we're
okay.
both right.
Yeah.
So,
So-
That's the most Canadian answer I've heard ever.
Well,
we
There,
both
yeah.
can walk away amicably.
Because like I'm going really hard into Bren's and Ross's because Devin keeps getting a bunch of links from me
Yep.
every couple of weeks. I have another one for you.
Oh,
tonight.
perfect. Yes.
So
Good,
yeah,
good,
you need
good.
to tell me it's been bubbed.
That last
it-
one was a disaster. Just the
it was a
more I looked
disaster,
at it,
yeah.
I was like, whoa.
Nathan likes disasters.
Whoa.
You know?
I like broken objects just like
You
myself.
should see his Webley. Ask him about his Webley.
There's no parts for him. Like, if it was a thing that you could easily just, like, change something back out for, like a Lee Enfield, there's millions of parts for Lee Enfields. So, like, if you get a Bubba Lee Enfield, you could literally entirely reverse build one back.
Yeah.
And, like, I have one that, like, I've made. I bought it as a barreled action and literally bought unserialized parts from pre-World War One, because they're still out there for pretty cheap,
Yeah.
and built a pre-World War One Lee Enfield. Like, entirely. But Ross parts, you can't find screws, even. You can't do anything. So, like, you have to get one that's good from the get-go, or you're fucked.
It's
So-
like the Danish Crags. Like I'm trying to go into a tailspin into those, and like there was one that was like bubbed, and I was like, "There's no way,"
You
because I can't.
yeah.
You can't find them anyway, and then you definitely can't find parts. So it's just like
Oh, yeah, no
unbelievable.
way.
But like but I've been doing a deep dive into Bren's, and so I've been trying to like, the first thing you go down that rabbit hole, you get the books, you get
Yep.
everything, and then you look at the movies and you go, that's not right, that's not right, that's not
Yeah.
right.
But
the
like to
Bren's-
everyone else,
the-
it's just a Bren. They don't realize
Right.
there's like 7 Brens. And,
exactly.
Yeah,
Well, the problem is like they didn't hold on the Bren that long, and they didn't hold it on the sight side, so I can't specifically tell. I just saw the guy looking down a peep sight, and I'm like, that's an MK3 maybe, but like you said, they might change
Yeah.
them out. Bren.
The only brand that matters is a fucking L4A1. Change my mind.
I don't know about that.
No, the only Bren you should care about is the ones that can snipe Colonel Sanders from 300 yards away. Okay,
That's right.
Those are the ones that matter. All right, Brian, go ahead.
Kentucky Fried Chicken.
The Forgotten Battle.
Fucking. Yeah, I know. Oh, yeah. So this is a good point to ask, and we've kind of beat around it. But one of my most favorite surplus rifles, or milsurps, I should say, is a number 4 Mark I, and especially a long branch Canadian number 4 Mark I. There's something very sexy about a long branch.
Mhm.
I love the stock.
Yeah.
They're very beautifully made rifles. And why didn't they just use Mark IVs for the whole time in this movie? Like, there's
They would have. The Canadians would have had Mark
Well,
IVs at that point.
exactly, yeah. But like, why do they have to have SMLEs? Like, it
Because
just
they're
doesn't make
trying
any
too
sense.
hard to do the whole D-Day thing. They don't realize that this is so far after D-Day, because like there's a lot of people that know there's a lot of people that don't know as well. But like there weren't any number 4s during the first couple of waves on D-Day, because
So yeah, really
they
interesting.
standardized on the SMLE because it had more finely adjustable sights. So they did that to supposedly they didn't know what ranges they were going to be engaging at and stuff like that. And so having the more fine sights they thought was going to be a thing they needed potentially. So the first couple of waves of both British and Canadians all had SMLEs. And then you see number 4s come in after that, subsequent waves, because that was at the point where they had already transitioned to just the 2-position flip battle sights rather than having the adjustable ladder on the number 4s. So the number 4s were too inconsistent sight-wise, so they just standardized on the SMLE because they all had the same sights. And they did that for the first couple of waves during D-Day. And so many people now believe that it's only one way or the other. But you would see the Canadians very shortly, because that's what they made, and they ran their supply lines. And they were very good about supplying the Canadians with Canadian stuff because they didn't need to take supplies away from the British, who are trying to, again, equip an entire empire. Okay? And so the Canadians were very adamant about supplying their own stuff to not have problems with the supply line. So after D-Day, you see Canadians have pretty much nothing but number 4s. And they can't make up their mind. It's a huge problem when you see Canadians portrayed. It's always one or the other. They either go the D-Day route and they get SMLEs for the whole movie, or they only supplied number 4s and bam, number 4s for every single thing. It's never the mix you see, but you would see SMLEs and number 4s mixed together. But by this point, you would see all of these fresh troops coming in for this invasion of a country, which would have been comprised mostly of fresh troops, would have had pretty much all number 4s. And you don't see them. You see them charging across the dikes with SMLEs.
That's fascinating. I had no idea about the D-Day thing and the SMLEs for the first few waves.
Mhm.
That's never heard that, and that's really cool. And interesting. I would expect you to say like they should have had number 4s for 2 or 3 years, but that's very interesting because I know in the Southern Europe, Italy, and everything, supply lines are different. There's a lot that goes into it.
It's a
Like,
big
that's why you don't
wish-wash.
see
That could be
stands and
literally
stuff.
anything under the sun.
Yeah.
The Italian campaign is like guys
It
all
gets-
left over from North Africa. It's anything under the sun. But
Right.
yeah, the Northern Europe would have been troops rotating back, fresh troops coming in all the time, and the only time you see a mishmash of stuff is D-Day plus 2 or 3 days. Then it's pretty much folds into the Canadians having their standard to the end of the war.
So what are the Canadian guys that had the short leaves? What did they do with them? D plus 2, 3, whatever.
You just
Did they
kept
keep
going with
using
them till they broke, obviously, or something, and you would get a number 4.
Yeah, and so you're saying, especially with this rotation back, when they were getting ready for Market Garden,
Mhm.
the guys that would have had short leaves would have been brought back to England, turned those in, and gotten number 4s.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
You would see
Interesting.
Canadians have SMLEs through the end of the war, but
Oh, for sure.
But as
You
guys
see
would have been
US guys as
rotated in, but
Springfields.
like this is obviously clearly fresh troops. They're all being briefed. They're all training for this. This is all new rotation troops. They all would
Mhm.
have had number 4s more than likely.
Yeah, Long Branch.
Yeah. So
Yep.
it's just something nobody really tends to get right. But once again, nobody really cares about Canada and actually doing it right anyways. So
Well, there's a lot of things that I don't think were cared about in this film, especially the fucking helmets, like we
Mhm.
were talking about.
and
It's like
the uniforms and the British uniforms that everybody
yeah,
except
that's what I'm saying.
one
Like
guy
the
is
gear
wearing.
in general. Yep, it's like really quick, Nate.
Yeah, I was just gonna say the beginning scenes before the rock throwing. There are some abysmal fucking German helmets.
We'll get there.
I'm just
we'll get
saying.
there. We'll
I'm
get there.
just saying.
We will get there.
I went.
sir.
Holy
Oh my
crap! Mike
God.
B has poison pilled me in movies now. This sucks.
Fucking terrible.
Yeah.
But like,
Sorry. Go ahead.
so the Canadian helmets, because of what you just said, so the helmets, it's kind of the same concept as. Oh no, actually no, it's not the same concept. That's what I'm going to ask you is, so veterans of Normandy and whatever
Would kept
that went
turtle
to Market
helmets.
Garden, they had the Mark IIIs
Mhm.
that they were issued for Normandy if they still had them.
Yep.
But you would also see the new guys being issued Mark IIs.
Yes. The troops coming from Canada would have had Mark II Brody helmets.
Okay.
So
Yep. So this film really shit the bed on that one.
mhm.
So
It's just not as common. Everyone thinks the British like the Canadians were just attached to the British and they got everything
No.
the same. They didn't. Their statistics are so different, and people
well,
don't
they
realize.
think about World War One because the Canadians they initially went over there with their own shit, and then things got so fucked
Yeah.
up, which we've talked about on podcasts
Mhm.
before and live streams. It got fucked up, so then they had to have British equipment. But in World War II, they were like, no, here we've got our supply line, we've got our manufacturing
Mhm.
going, we're good to go.
Yep, they clearly
And-
they had been making stuff from very early on, literally
Yes.
39 to send to the UK while they were gearing up. And so
Oh,
their
so the
supply
Canadians
lines
sent
were well
Yeah.
established before the Canadians were even really sending troops.
Oh,
So
interesting.
like
That's
they were
very different
gearing
from the
up their
First World War.
supply lines to help supply the British while they were gearing up. before the
Yeah.
Canadian Army was even ready. So by the time the Canadian Army is ready, the Canadian manufacturing lines and stuff like that are cranking out gear and helmets and rifles and shit.
So
by
you
the
might
time
you might see British soldiers in like Northern Europe and
Italy and stuff
potentially
like that
Italy
with
and stuff,
Canadian
wearing
stuff.
Canadian stuff,
Mhm.
Canadian battle dress.
No, not battle
And,
dress.
like,
They would the
battle-
British would get their own uniforms, but you could see
Okay.
Canadian made field equipment, Canadian made
Oh.
guns, Canadian made helmets being used by the British
Huh.
early on, before the Canadian Army was even ready. The first time
Yeah.
you see Canadian troops fighting is in North Africa. But
Mhm.
by that point,
Yep.
you know, the Canadians had been making shit for the British by the time the landings happened in North Africa, you know, for a year.
Just something to interject. Canada has this very interesting, role in the war, and people don't really know this, but they landed in France right after Dunkirk. Like about, I think a week or two after Dunkirk, they landed in Normandy,
Yeah.
and they were going to start this new front. And then France surrenders, and what do? Go home, and they leave a lot of stuff behind. Like, it's really unfortunate. Like, they show up and then just leave. And again, the Canadians have this very unfortunate series of events during the war. You have Dieppe, you have Ortona, you have just these really, really horrible things. The chapel, it's wherever it was,
Yeah,
south
the
of
Canadian
Juno
Navy
Beach.
going to Singapore.
I
Right
don't
as
know about that.
Japan
Oh,
is
God.
about to conquer it, and they lose a bunch of shit there, you know.
I didn't know
And
that.
yeah, that was bad as well. But like you just look at like these superpowers, these massive like empires in these countries with resources and money that they're literally fighting shoulder to shoulder with, and they don't have any of that. Like they're fighting in Normandy. The Normandy landings are the superpower of the world, America. All right, and the largest empire in existence, the British Empire. Okay, then you have one beach of the five is just Canada, which is a hodunk ocean of trees in North America with nobody in it. Like they're stepping up to go toe to toe with the two largest superpowers in the world. You know, shoulder to shoulder there, and they really can't compete, but they somehow managed to not fall apart during all of this. I won't say pull as much weight because they didn't. They were physically incapable of pulling as much weight as the entire British Empire or the full force of America. But like you see them stand up all the time and go shoulder to shoulder and just manage to not fall apart as this country with basically nothing all the time.
Well, according to The Longest Day, the Canadians didn't even fucking participate. So I don't know.
Oh, yeah. I mean, fair.
There's one scene where the plane flies over Juno Beach. Yeah.
Oh yeah, just massacring Canadians. Yep. The only
Mhm.
time we see you is when you're getting killed.
Just
What is this?
bodies.
1940?
Yeah.
Like.
But it's just, and nobody ever gets anything right, unfortunately.
So let's go back to what Nate brought up, is the German uniforms.
Ooh.
Ooh, don't you love an officer with his officer's cap in the front lines?
Hey, he had his helmet on, but it didn't save his
Eventually.
life. It's not bulletproof,
Eventually.
Mike. A,
No,
okay?
he never. That mustache motherfucker never had his helmet on.
No, he did.
He's the guy that gets shot when he like shoots the kid.
Yeah,
in the
he
back,
did.
Right?
Different officer.
Really?
Different officer.
Hmm. Pull it up,
Look,
Nate.
look at the fuck. Pull it up, Nate. Pull it
He
up.
was wearing his helmet when he gets shot at the end. The guy that shot the
But
kid
yeah,
in the
he
trench.
didn't have his
100%.
helmet on.
Yeah, but
just
it
like-
wasn't the mustachioed
Podcast.
fucking.
Guess it what?
Yeah.
Don't
It
make
was.
me.
It was
pull
not
up.
him.
It is him.
It's his twin brother, Hans.
Devin K.
Luigi and Mario.
I am Hans, and he is Franz. Yeah, how to pump you up. Oh, that joke went over everyone's head except Nate's.
What's that fucking?
Okay.
Right,
You get
Big
it.
Lebowski. That's what it was. Cut off your Johnson.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, you're mix matching. You're like Jesse Ventura. You're mix matching.
Don't
I brought a
tell
little
me
bit of-
how I mismatch movies.
So I brought a little bit of the Northwoods down to the Baja, and I call it Baja Soda.
Shut the fuck up, Nate.
No, but like the German uniforms in general, before you pull it up,
They're pretty bad.
they're
I don't know anything about German uniforms, and even I know that's not right.
yeah. There's a lot of. Well, here's the thing too: is along with the Canadians and everybody in the goddamn film, where is your fucking field gear?
Shh, you don't need it. They're losing in Russia. Shush.
Well, No, but the Canadians, were they losing that in the invasion of Market Garden?
I don't know. Sometimes, probably.
Sometimes they had a canteen on them.
At least one fuck up probably lost half the
So-
shit.
When we just shot our documentary, and it's a very long, stressful story. But you know, one of the things we did is we went to a reenactment, and there's a lot of reenactors there and stuff, and very impressive kit. And at the end of the day, there was like 78 guys fully kitted out in their uniforms. And, you know, me and Nate did the math. It's probably like, you know, $150,000 to $200,000 worth of shit there between weapons and kit and everything else, you know, compared to what an average impression costs for these guys. And it's just really fucking expensive to outfit people. And so I did see the Canadians, when they attacked later on, had like no kit. And the way that they shot it, you know, it's like you can outfit 60 guys with rifles and uniforms, and it looks impressive like this. And then you put them in a big field, and it doesn't look impressive at all.
But like
60
it's
guys
also,
is nothing.
They could
you
have
know?
used British
Nothing.
stuff because it looks the same. It's the same pattern of equipment. Like,
But that's my guess, is that they just couldn't afford 60
Well, they weren't
sets
using
of
Canadian shit
tools
at the
and that
beginning.
and everything
Yeah, they couldn't
else.
afford it, but like what Devin's saying, like use British shit, they couldn't afford Canadian shit like uniforms. So like
yeah,
they're not going to spend the extra money on gear. All right. So this guy, Mustachio.
Yeah, I'm trying to find him with the crusher cap. while he's
The best
standing.
part is after like the first battle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our esteemed fucking producer will pull this up eventually. Yeah. So this guy, okay, let's
That
see.
is the same
that guy is a
guy.
colonel, at least, because I can't see if there's any pips on there. That guy's a colonel. He's wearing his dress uniform out into combat, which is interesting. And a
That's just a
fucking
gabardine tunic. That's not a dress uniform. With an M36 collar. That's just a tailored tunic. It's not a dress uniform.
Yeah.
that's not one you're gonna wear out in the fucking field.
It's
and
too
also
nice.
Yeah. Have you seen nice quality German officer tunics that they
here
wear?
we
all
go.
the
All
time?
right, here we go.
So is that the same?
That's the
guy?
same thing. Yes. There's the mustache.
It's not the
It
same
It is
guy.
the same
No,
guy,
it's
I think,
not.
yeah.
It's not.
Okay. Moving on. It's not that important. He has his helmet on there and it doesn't save him.
Well,
With
also
the
he's got
patches,
a-
at least. Sorry.
He's got an immaculate fucking gabardine walking out tunic, we'll call it. Not dress, walking out.
Why?
He just had
And
it
in,
freshly
in that scene
washed.
with his fucking, with his Schirmnitzer,
Why?
right?
Why are you what?
Yes.
It's pedantic.
Why
as
is
fuck.
this? You're making it pedantic. No.
No, but my
You're
point
digging your
was,
heels into it.
no, my point is like a German officer, whatever fucking tunic he's wearing, I don't give a shit.
Right.
He's not gonna be wearing a fucking Schirmnitzer on a fucking frontline battlefield
Okay.
in either war.
Yeah.
No,
He's
I
gonna be wearing a
agree.
fucking
Wait,
helmet.
what do you by sure? What you mean
A visor
the
cap.
soft
Peak
cap?
yeah.
Oh well, yeah, 95% of the time. But there's stories of guys that did wear visor caps, and I have a story in one of my memoirs from a guy that he wore a crushed cap for like 4 years, and then he was killed by a shell splinter in Italy. Yeah. No, it's incredibly rare for you see a lot of German officers do it in films because it looks cool. Because crusher caps do look cool. don't
They
get
do
me
it in the
wrong.
First World War films too, and like it's fucking, it's not
And-
fucking accurate.
And yeah, all that happens is the officers die quickly. But
I'm agreeing with you about the crusher cup. I'm not fighting you on that. I'm just talking
Oh
about
no,
the tunic thing.
yeah,
that's
it doesn't
all.
matter, but like
Yeah.
it's the
Nice
whole, but it was just like he was completely fucking like he just got done having
I
a
agree.
fucking nice
That's
Parisian dinner,
yeah.
and then he's wearing his fucking Schirmnitzer, and it's like, no.
But also, like, him standing on the front line next to guys who are, like, crouched in a trench as he just stands there right in the front line with his nice tunic and his nice hat. Not even, like, maybe back a bit with, like, a pair of binoculars. Like, literally
It's just
the front
cinema.
line.
It's just cinema,
Yeah.
and that's like it's like portraying this guy as a fucking hardcore Nazi officer, and he's a fucking army like colonel. Okay, cool.
Who's apparently going
And
to
he-
shoot his own
yeah.
men. So yeah.
Yep. Which fun.
It's again, it's just that stupid Nazi shit that they love to put in these kind of movies.
They're the
Yep.
bad guys.
Have some common sense even if you're the bad, Anyway, are we still talking about this movie?
Kind of.
We're talking about
Well-
this German guy and his immaculate head.
Yeah.
So since you so want to keep talking about this movie, Mike A, what?
What else needs to be said?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I know we've talked about, you know, what we like and what we don't like, and I know you've talked about how like you don't like the writing and the storylines and all that kind of stuff. I mean, was there anything that like really you want to open up a line of conversation, like maybe something you really liked about it? Like pick one thing you liked about that no one's talked about. That's gonna be hard, but
Something I liked about it.
yeah.
Some of the. Oof. Let me think for a second. I gotta think really hard about this.
Don't hurt
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
Something I liked about it.
Oh, I have the best answer. The end credits, because it was
Because
over.
it was over. I kind of liked
Yeah.
even though I usually don't like stuff like this, I kind of liked the opening sequence with the map and how when it's zooming into what's going on with the lines being
I
pushed
did
back,
like
you can
that.
see on the Eastern Front, even though they're going away from it, that's happening too. Like I thought that was kind of neat. You know,
I liked.
That
I
was-
did like watching the map kind of move, and then the Canadians split off the force, and they push that one quadrant into the sea and all that
you
kind
see
of
like the
stuff. I did
fillets.
like
that,
You
yeah.
see like the fillets
That was
gap
cool.
form and shit. Yeah. So
That was cool, but it was wrong.
yeah.
Not gonna lie, because they're like, oh, then we got Brittany, and it's like, no, and then they had already like taken over. They went over the CN before they captured Paris, and it's like that map was really fucked up. It was cool.
I like how also during that you can see on the far right that you can see the Soviet lines being pushed or the German lines around the Soviet Union being pushed. However, none of the lines are moving in Italy for some reason. I guess just
Because nobody
Well,
cares about
that's-
yeah,
Italy.
That's also not that far out of the realm. In 44, that was a fucking
Static.
quagmire.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, post
Oh
Post-
my god.
Rome, it's like 6 weeks of stagnation, and there's the Siegfried line. There's another line, and then there's another line after that. It was very crazy
It's
fighting.
the
You get
Gothic
yeah,
line.
the Gothic
is
line.
where
Yeah.
it just stops.
you
It
get the
stops.
90. You get units like the 91st ID, the guys that have the trees on their helmets that show up. That only are in Italy, so you never hear about them. Like that's really the 88th is there for the rest of the war. Yeah, Italy post Rome is like not very well studied or mainstream. It's very
Yeah.
interesting.
No,
10th Mountain Division shows up.
they got up to the Gothic line and it just fucking sat there because you got the RSI guys, the fucking fascist fucking Italians. And you've got the I forgot what the fucking term was for them, but like the guys that were fighting with the Americans and the Brits that were like on the side of the Allies.
The
and then it
Brazilians?
just sits. No, it was Italian.
They were there though. The Brazilian Expeditionary
Yes,
Force.
yeah,
was
yeah,
there.
the smoking snakes were there, Devin. Thank you.
I have a
Yes.
funny story about them. But I'll tell another time.
I've never heard of that before. That caught me so off guard. I was
What,
the
multitasking.
Brazilians?
I heard
Yeah.
Devin go, Brazilians? And I thought it was a joke.
No,
Yeah, the
for real.
Brazilians.
The Brazilians were
Yeah.
there, yeah.
The Brazilian Expeditionary Force. Yeah,
Yeah, and
Very-
they were good fighters,
Yeah.
but
very
Hard to
very
train.
very.
I'm doing
long-
my part.
I'm not
very
even
long
horse
story
fucking you.
short.
There was literally Brazilians fighting in their bikinis in the middle of
I,
Italy.
I knew this guy. I knew this guy. He was the 1st Armored Division. He was in the 81st Reconnaissance Battalion in Italy, like all the way from towards the end of the war. And they're working with Brazilians at one point, and they were attacking this village and stuff. And they were doing some support, and was also getting like attacked by P-47s or something. So there was a Brazilian guy standing next to the tank, and they happened to fire their 37 millimeter. And they hit a building just as like a 500-pound bomb goes off. This Brazilian guy thought it was the tank that did that. And he was like, bullseye! He was so happy. This tank commander was like, what the fuck's going on with that guy? Like, because they had no idea. Like, they thought that the firepower of the 37 could do that to a building. So, yeah, Brazilian troops are a mixed bag. But they were there. And they have a really cool invasion flag. It's the stars from their flag over, like, a invasion circle. They have some really cool shit.
They're also
Very-
really weird looking because they have Mausers in 30-06.
That's what I was about to ask was just a 30-second explanation so we can get back to Forgotten Battle. But the what did Brazil even use? I don't even know.
Mostly
If they-
M&Ms.
A lot of American
Mausers?
equipment.
Yeah, basically
Yeah.
M1.
they used
Like
the,
the other-
the 1917 service rifle mostly.
Yeah.
So
Like the French
Foreign
the French free units and stuff
The
and
Free French, yeah.
everything and yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you get this crazy amalgamation because you get the Buffalo soldiers, they're there later on, and then you get the 442nd comes back from France. Like Italy is this crazy, continuation of it's an amalgamation of units that happen to be there.
It's
you
a
know,
dumpster
fighting.
for the leftover shit nobody wants. That's what Italy ended up being.
10th Mountain Division, get out of here.
Yeah.
You know?
So you
There's
have
like some-
one shiny penny in a mountain of rusty quarters. Like, who cares? Like,
There's like
it's-
two.
That's actually about it. Yeah.
There was like 2 random artillery battalions that were attached to the 82nd and were jump qualified and were detached from the unit in Anzio and then like left and stayed in Italy for the rest of the war. Some really fucking strange shit that happened.
Yeah.
Well, the 34th
yeah.
got fucked because they were like, all right, everybody else is popping off to go to southern France. We're gonna do that. We're gonna go up to Germany. You guys, 34th, 36th, a couple other units, the Brazilians. You guys are just gonna stay here.
You're
and
just gonna
fucking
kind of hang out.
hang out.
Yeah.
And it was just a fucking bloodbath.
Mhm.
Absolute fucking bloodbath for everyone, and it's fucking insane.
It's funny because the 442nd gets destroyed basically with the 100 at Monte Cassino and then gets rebuilt and then goes to southern France and gets destroyed when they have to rescue that lost battalion. And then they rebuild them and they send them back to Italy to get destroyed again. So it's like this fucking crazy series of events. where
At
it's
what
like,
point,
you know,
though, are the Italians and the Germans like, didn't we just kill all these people?
Yeah,
and they're
right,
Back
yeah.
again?
Well,
Like, yeah.
Imagine going we just left Italy. Imagine going back. It's like, it's not like we took somebody off Guadalcanal and sent them back to Guadalcanal. It's pretty crazy.
And the Gothic line was like they were still fighting there when the fucking armistice was signed on May 8th. Like they were
I
like,
think they surrendered a day or two earlier, but there was fighting right until the end.
Yeah.
There
What are
was
you
there was
laughing
an
at, Mike?
early surrender in Holland, and there was early surrender in the south.
Mike.
Yep. Mike, why you laughing?
Because I'm just like,
Why you
oh
laughing,
my,
Mike?
nothing.
I know why he's laughing. I know why he's
Yeah.
laughing, but
No, it's cool. I love hearing all this stuff.
He doesn't care about the Brazilians fighting in Italy. God.
No, it's just.
Well, he made a movie about it.
I know.
so,
I care about the Italian campaign. Believe me.
To an extent.
But we're talking about the forgotten battle. But
It's Market Garden's not forgotten. We already
No,
talked about it.
I was gonna
Yes.
pull the Teguchi eye back, but yes, like it was.
I guess
at least we're in this century, and at least we're in this
Yeah.
war, Mike A. Okay, at least
that's true. That's
we're
true.
here in this war in this.
So, how
century.
about that Vietnam?
Yeah, yeah. You want to talk about the
The Canadians weren't there either.
War? How about the
You want to talk about that
Revolutionary
other
War?
terrible Dutch movie that we watched? What was it called?
The East?
Yeah, the East.
You
It had
hate
one
the
of
Dutch,
actors.
dude. You hate the Dutch. This is why.
I'm
Yeah.
This
Dutch.
is what we're figuring out.
I'm-
Yeah.
Double down on the Dutch.
This is your chance to redeem yourself.
it.
It's a Dutch
Yeah.
film. It's
Okay,
a Dutch
another
fucking
thing I
setting.
do like about it, I like.
Do you like
No,
the
I
Dutch?
like that there's a VZ-37 machine gun at one point, but being used by the Germans.
37.
Yeah, one of those Czechoslovakian machine guns. You know,
27.
it's 37.
Oh, the
Yeah.
the
Where was
37. Yeah,
that?
Yeah, you can see
on
the
the
muzzle
bridge.
inside
Yeah.
one of those.
on the bridge.
It's a dushka, dude.
You think so?
It's a dish.
Yep, Nate, pull it up.
I don't know where it is. I didn't see it. I don't know.
It's
there's
in the
no
bunker.
IMFTV.
It's in the bunker at the very end on the dike.
Oh, yeah, that was a
It's a
dish.
dish
gun.
gun.
It's,
Yes,
it's
it
meant.
was.
It's
Wait,
meant
what?
to.
No, it's not the dike. It's the Devon.
Huh?
what do you?
It's not called a dike. It's called a.
The earthen levy. Yeah.
Yes. thank
Even
you.
if it's
There we
even
go.
if it is a
I'll
Dushka,
find it.
that's
I'll find
clearly
it.
what it's meant to be. It's
Yeah,
meant to
yeah.
be a VZ-37.
Yeah, yeah, no,
It's
I
like
agree.
okay, that's kind of cool because along the Atlantic Wall they would have been using stuff like that. So
Well,
that's kind of cool.
I
Yeah,
I
for
am
sure.
a little annoyed that all we saw were 42s.
Of course, yeah, it would not be in an abundance.
They did sound right though. They had the right rate of fire.
The,
So you got to give them
those
that.
two bunkers that are facing them. That's just a complete. That's just taken from video games that were copying Save It Private Ryan. Like those are just completely fictional. There is one
Medal
shot where
of
you,
Honor.
yeah, Medal of
Front
Honor
line.
and stuff like that. There
Yeah.
are and Allied Assault. There are a couple. There's like one shot where you see like a light stand and then like a schnabel stand, and that's not too bad. What's that?
Gesundheit.
Shut up. Don't mock me in my serious discussion.
You said Schnabelstand.
Schnabel stand, yeah. It's the,
Schnabelstand.
but you see stuff like that in one shot, and it's like, okay, yes, although they're just completely gray, like they would be camouflaged like none other, those kinds of things. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the. I never understand in movies like bunkers like that are not just going to be
No,
out
they're
there
gonna
to be
they're
made
gonna
targets.
they would
Like,
paint them, they would throw nets or just tree branches, like anything they could to camouflage.
Yeah,
them.
anything. Yep.
They would not just sit out there in the open for people to see miles and miles away.
Oh, great. The fucking 16-inch fucking naval guns
Yeah.
can hit us. No problem. Easy.
I mean, they would camouflage them in various ways. They would even make some of them look like houses. Try to disguise
Mhm.
them as houses along the beach.
That's when he says the Atlantic Wall. This is the Atlantic Wall. It's just a
Yep.
little bit far north and east of France, and like there was an entire place they had to defend and camouflage, and like that's what's so funny is like I see all these movies and they're just like these bunkers are just wide out there in the
these
open.
big chunks of concrete, and it's like just
Like,
yeah.
easy fucking
if
target.
a ship
Like,
pulls up next to that, what do you think they're gonna aim at?
See, now what the Germans should have done is they should have painted rocks to look like bunkers.
Hey, little fake out.
Or
Just painted it on the side of a cliff, just what looks like a bunker.
They're over along in areas of Omaha Beach. There is one rear position where they dug a bunch of fake trenches for aerial reconnaissance to think that was a resistance nest. Yeah, so they would occasionally do little things like that.
Or almost 85 years later, a bunch of boomers will all scream at once about someone painting Dragon Ball Z Dragon on an old bunker on a beach. If I
love it when
see that
happens,
shared
dude.
one more fucking time, how fake that Photoshop is, I'm going to scream. Oh my god!
Have you ever seen the one? Have you
Ugh.
seen the one where someone took a bunker and painted it to look like the Millennium Falcon?
Yes, I have actually.
Yeah,
Have
it's
you?
pretty
There was someone. I literally read a comment yesterday. It said these damn millennials always ruining history. I'm like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, dude, it's laid to ruin.
It's literally a pile of rocks. If it's not real, number one, it's photoshopped as fuck. Two, if you had half a brain cell and log in your password not with the word password on it, you'd also fucking get the goddamn fucking Facebook. Oh my god.
2024.
They don't know what Photoshop is, Nate. That's the funny thing. Whenever I see stuff like that, it's like, would you rather it be armed with fucking guns and soldiers about to kill people? Like, what would you prefer?
Yes, because the
Yes.
Germans had the best army. Ugh.
My romanticized version of the Second World War doesn't support this fallacy. Okay.
Yep.
Don't you want to eat
My
salt?
over dramatic
Okay,
narrative
the worst though
does
is
not
when
fit
people
in.
go apeshit over people like sunbathing and swimming in the ocean on like Omaha Beach and stuff. I see people get upset about that.
It's a
It's a
beach.
resort fucking
People
beach.
are like,
What
that's
the fuck?
sacred ground. It's like, dude, fuck you. This is you want it to remain a
It's a
fucking like
beach.
military stronghold? Like, what is wrong with you?
And also, none of the fucking soldiers there ever did
Yeah,
that.
yeah, exactly. Well,
Yeah.
also, it's like, what
None
the
of
fuck
them.
were these guys fighting for if you say that people can't enjoy this beach today?
Well,
Right,
if
there
that's
you
the
go.
case, you guys better not enjoy Hawaii because we stole it. Like,
on the shelf, like that more northern part of the Atlantic Wall. What would be typical for a bunker?
So it is true that like in the Netherlands and such like that, you would see some big stuff like those Leichtstans and stuff that those big fire control bunkers that are like 3 levels. You would see stuff like that because the more when it comes to the Atlantic Wall, the more north you go, the bigger things get because that's where they started was up north. And so that part is okay. And you would see some of the like the 262 battery casemates, the stuff that you see like at Longe-sur-Mer with the big naval guns inside them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You wouldn't see the Schnabelstand too much. I saw 2 in this when they did that wide shot, and that's the Saving Private Ryan bunker, by the way. That slit. You wouldn't see those. That's more of a Pas de Calais thing that they did a lot in Pas de Calais in France. But in terms of the Leichtstans, you would see that like those 3-tier observation bunkers and such like that, and then the coastal batteries, but not those 2 blocks of concrete sitting facing that road like that are only 20 feet apart from each other. That's just completely ridiculous.
One 500-pound bomb could take care of that pretty.
Yeah, but also it's just, what is the point? Like this
Yeah.
this is an open road. Like this is not like a position that's gonna be like this permanently. I mean, these are just in the way. They would not build bunkers like that. Well, also they wouldn't build them just out in the open like that. If they're gonna build like a block house, something like that, they're going to build it into like a hillside, something to where it can't be easily silhouetted against, when someone's looking.
but the
at it.
Netherlands doesn't like have that.
What's that?
They're flat.
That's why these bunkers wouldn't be there. Yeah. The only
Yes.
kind of place you would see something like this would be along an escarpment that faces the ocean to where they can actually build them into kind of like a plateau or something like that. But if like in terms of stuff on land, they would usually build things in like houses or in brick walls and kind of try and camouflage them. You would never see stuff just sitting out in the open. I mean, it's obvious what that is from miles away.
Stuff like an 88 just sitting out there.
Yeah,
Like no
no,
sandbags?
hell no. They have that 88. I mean, you can see the profile of it. Like anyone knows what that's going to be from miles away. So, I mean, they would throw if they were going to have that out in the open, or if their only choice was to have that in the open, they would string that fucking thing up with nets and stuff like that. They would put a camouflage umbrella over it. They would not want that thing to be seen like that.
That's what I hang my laundry
Well,
on.
everybody knows the Germans had air supremacy at this point of the war, So.
Yeah.
I can promise you one thing, General. You will see no more German planes.
Not one bomb will fall on Berlin.
I guess the one thing that the two bunkers that are shown during that whole scene with the Canadian, like they do have nets on them, but still they're not. They're just they're sitting out in the open. They're just this brick sitting out in the open. They wouldn't do it. They wouldn't do that. They would try and either build them into an existing building or build them into some kind of hill or something like that to where they can't be easily detected.
Yeah.
All right. So the something I want to talk about. We talked about this with Mike and Devin and I, but like that SS guy in the fucking hospital.
Oh, the
at
one missing his
beginning.
legs. Yeah.
You mean the Oberleutnant Dan?
The
Yeah,
Oberscharführer.
Dan.
Yeah. Lieutenant Dan
Staff
is what I was
sergeant.
trying to remember.
Yeah, Lieutenant Dan.
Staff sergeant, but
Yeah.
not whatever. And what the fuck was the point of that?
What's the point of the whole Russia
Yeah,
stuff?
Well, you're right. Like,
He's
what's the
trying
whole
to tell
point?
you
of
that
I don't know.
Nazi socialism, to question everything, Nazi socialism is bad, and then he sucked on a pistol. So I mean,
Yeah,
like,
I guess that was that was kind of trying to show some redeeming quality of some kind of German side. I don't know.
We didn't need it though.
Don't
All
know.
of
You
Russia,
don't.
we
Yeah,
didn't need
you
it.
don't need it.
Yeah, we don't need any.
But I
of
think
that. It's a waste of time.
might have been what that was. I just it was just ridiculous.
He was a
Some
second
director
SS
being
guy.
like, I got to do my own take on Spider-Man 27 here, and
Fucking second SS guy wearing his fucking tunic.
Well, he's wearing his
Religiously.
tunic because you have to know he's SS. That's the reason why.
That's
even the
thing.
most evil can redeem themselves. Might be. I mean, come on.
yeah, and then you end up starting a pistol.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't put it in his mouth. He was.
Yeah, he did.
underneath
He
his
put it-
chin.
Oh no, he
This-
didn't. He did put
No,
it
he
in the
put it in his
bottom.
chest,
That's
yeah.
right. Yeah. The one thing I did want to say before we jump into our own version of IMFDB, which would just be listing everything we saw really quickly and then go to
Oh,
closing
God.
thoughts,
Yeah.
is again like I do have to call out that flooded town. I don't think anyone else has done that I can remember. In a movie.
What do you mean? Call it out? Like,
Act like I actually think
Oh,
that
yeah,
it was
no,
a
that's-
wonder. I thought that was
Yeah.
the best part of this movie was the set of like the setting in that flooded town. I really liked that concept.
that was really cool. Yeah, it was because the basements or the cellars rather were all
the,
flooded.
The
Yep.
flooded basements. Everything is mold and mildewed. Everything is fucking wrecked. Like I wouldn't have been able to survive in that because I fucking am allergic to all that shit. So it's like that shit was very impressive to me, and I don't think I've ever seen any other movie that's done that in that setting, in that time period, in that kind of location. Like I don't think I've ever seen that, and I thought that was really cool.
There's not enough shit made about Holland in general in the Second World War, like with Market Garden and like right around those time periods.
Yeah,
Especially when like the Commonwealth forces, because the Americans went south and west mostly.
yeah,
And then the Commonwealth went north and east mostly.
yeah,
And not a fucking rule, but like for the most part. And
yeah.
none of that shit is ever fucking talked about. Like the breakout from Cannes, right? Okay, go up there, fucking go to Antwerp so we could open up that fucking port so we can get supplies closer to our guys so we can go straight to fucking Germany.
Mm-hmm.
Bam.
Mhm.
That was the goal. And then Market Garden was like, oh, we have some problems up here in northern Holland. Let's just fucking open a new front here and like break through from the south.
Yeah,
Let's get two birds stoned at once. And that was the logic. Didn't work out that way, but it's never talked. It's always Normandy.
Normandy
It's just-
or it's Arnhem and that's it. But like the really
Yeah.
the thing I have to point out is that it's water and
Mhm.
it's closed set water and it's a town that's been all had to be fabricated. Like that's a lot of fucking money. That's a lot of fucking money. And
I think they spent money on their sets and they not fucked over, but like just lacked on the costume department.
whoever
That's what I think
whoever was
happened.
in charge of sets knew exactly what they should be
Yeah,
focusing on.
And they were beautiful.
and the
beautiful.
gear and the stuff was kind of set to maybe the C score.
It was just minimal and lacking, and
Yeah.
it was like
It's because
you
they're
work with
not
what you
used.
have.
They're probably not
Yeah.
going to be used to like Devin going like that's fucking not right. Like
It's not
yeah.
right.
So like
even,
that's-
even if they
dude.
did, they probably wouldn't bare minimum anyway because of the budget.
That's
you
how
know,
most
like-
filmmakers are, though, dude. I mean, like most filmmakers are not the super nerds like all of us. They're people who say, "Okay, that looks good
Yep.
enough." That's
Right.
Good enough.
that-
Yep.
Yeah, it's like
Yep.
and I will just chime in on here for you to chime in because all you can comment on this because I'm the only one who was not present on set. But you guys dealt with wet cave. I
oh,
can't
yeah.
even imagine with fucking wet, have to be tanked up town, tanked around to keep all the water and control the water levels of that place. You also have to think they probably had a way to flood the town, reflood the town, and then pull the water back down.
It was
again,
probably
like,
rigged up, yeah.
Yeah,
to-
or at least just to spray everything down. You have the insides
Something,
of
yeah.
everything. Like, it's very impressive. If you think about
Yes.
how movies
Yep.
are made, it's a very impressive feat. I feel like because it shows the budget to pull that feat off, and it just sucks because it's like I said in the top of the hour, it's like I would have loved if they had just stayed there and the movie was based in like. Could you imagine fighting force to force in a flooded city like that?
Yeah.
I mean,
No,
they
that would be fucking miserable.
the Germans would have pulled out and then they would have flooded it anyway. That's the whole point of it. But imagine there was a contingency like stuck on an island or stuck on a way in. The town's the only thing in, and they're at
Somebody
So
just
you're
to put up a bit of resistance.
So
Yeah.
you want World War II meets Waterworld. You want that kind of thing,
yes.
Which, hey, that
Yes.
movie is a famously awful production.
It bankrupted a whole studio, Mike. Same way as the movie I made you watch, Treasure Island, also
Yep.
bankrupt the studio. So,
Oh,
you know, it's the
did I
same
tell
thing.
you that I watched that not too long ago?
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
And you did
Ooh.
tell me it was as abysmally bad as I said.
Oh, so bad. So bad. So bad.
Bad dog.
Oh my god. Poor Gina Davis. Yeah.
Destroyed her career, man.
It did, yeah, and ruined
Yeah.
her marriage.
Yeah.
She was married to the
Oh, that's
director.
right. Her husband was the one who directed
was
it,
was
right?
the director.
Yeah. Anyway,
Sorry, we're
forgotten battle.
cinephiles.
Forgotten battle. Yeah, sorry. Do we want to jump into our own IMFDB? You want to
Yes.
list?
This is gonna be rough
talk
because I need
about
you to
it.
pull up the fucking movie.
Well, no, just list
Yeah,
what
just
you remember.
what you remember.
We're
Yeah,
not
we're
gonna
not gonna
remember
remember.
Okay,
that.
yeah. Brian wants to get out of here, so let's just make.
No,
okay.
that's not it. No, I agree
It's-
with
it's-
Brian. I don't want to sit and try to find it in the
It's
thing.
gonna
I
be-
just I just want to list.
There
all
was a
my
lot of
crazy
Hugo
shit.
M48s, and it was a bunch of reverse
Yep.
shots, and it was fucked
Yep.
up. The gunplay was terrible.
I want
there
I
were-
want Devin to analyze every Enfield.
There's only two.
That's it.
There's the #1 Mark III Star, and then there's the #4 Mark I.
What about
What-
the Stens? There were Stens in the movie.
There were
Yeah.
There was one.
there were fives.
And there's one
Yeah.
Sten in
There
the
were
movie,
fives,
and
weren't
it's a
they?
Sten.
No, those are
Huh?
twos.
No,
Skeleton stock.
I don't remember
No.
a Sten.
There
No,
were
it was a
Stens.
skeleton stock. We'll see. We'll see.
Go to the
no. There's
main,
one.
the main,
There's a there's two or three.
Oh,
of them
yeah, I
with
see it
grips.
the big
Yeah.
mob charge
They're
across
fives.
the dike. Yeah,
There were
that's what
some
you saw.
fives in there.
They went to had fives. Those.
I know
instruments.
there were
But-
some fives in there though.
but
I,
they're
Pull it
pretty
up. Pull it up. Pull it
I
up.
know,
Well, it's the big dike charge. That's when it was.
Oh, so we're just okay.
big dike
We'll just do our
charge.
own. Okay.
yeah.
The Earthen Levy.
The
the battle of the
Earth.
Earth
Yeah,
and
sorry.
Levy.
Yeah, come on, Mike. The
Okay,
Earth
sorry.
and Levy.
Fuck.
Come on, what the fuck?
So if you want me to share my screen, I have the battle scene pulled up. Oh, it's not very good quality though. Oh, wait a minute. No, I can make it good quality. You
I
want
mean,
me to
I
share
can
my
go
screen?
through a
Boy.
10-second burst. I just don't want to scan the whole battle scene because we'll be here for
No,
like
it's
40
okay.
minutes.
Here, let me just share my screen. And then we can.
But I saw. So this is what I saw. I saw MP40s, K98s, Lugers, P38s.
Yeah, a couple of those. I saw P38 too.
42s.
There's a
don't,
Panzerfaust in
yeah,
there.
Panzerfaust. I don't know if they were real
60,
42s
yep.
or if they were the other models. I couldn't.
PZ60.
PZ60.
Panzerfaust 60.
The Panzerfaust
Oh,
60.
yes.
Yeah. The 30s are the earlier ones. Like Kleins.
No, I saw no 34s. I saw no variants of older weaponry. It seemed to be like the main line of 40 of like Normandy in there.
That's a guy with a Bren right there. This
Now
bipod,
for British, I saw Bren, Stens, Leanfield. I thought I saw a 5, but
Also, an 88 makes a much bigger splash than what they showed in here.
Well, the proximity of these guys to that 88 barrel, I mean, they're all going to be deaf.
Well,
They're
well,
fucked.
that 88 also like might be like what you just said. Like that impact was like a mortar, not even like
Yeah.
a
that was a
fucking
hand
88
grenade.
Yeah,
That was
an
a fucking
88
hand
shell
grenade.
would be like monstrous.
Yeah, it would be
Yeah.
decimating. Now, I think Nate and I, we can recognize all of the After Effects muzzle flashes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a... Yeah, okay, never mind.
the tracers were pretty horrid. Some of them were.
That's an After Effects muzzle flash right there, right?
Yeah.
Here, let me go back to the frame.
If you can
Muzzle in
nail
the
it.
dirt.
No,
I'll
he's
tell
got a blank in
Huh?
there. It just didn't do a
That's a
muzzle flash.
blank.
They added
That's a
they
blank.
added that
'cause
in
it's
afterwards.
The dirt, yeah, it's a blank.
Okay.
No, but it's an After Effect muzzle flash.
Yeah, that right there is After Effects, isn't it?
Yeah, look at that.
No,
Yeah.
You don't think so?
no. The dirt's moving on the shot. It's a blank.
No, I know the dirt's moving, but they added because there probably wasn't a muzzle blast.
It
like
might
a
be
flash.
enhanced, but it's definitely a blank.
No, I know it's a blank. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
That right there is fake. The Bren in the background right there is fake as fuck. That right there, that is digital muzzle flash.
Yeah.
And then look at this thing, plink.
Oh, that
That
thing.
artillery,
The artillery that was like a
Boom.
like
Whenever
like a
I see
Rev War
artillery,
cannon. Yeah.
whenever I see artillery now, I'm like, oh god, how
Yeah,
bad
these,
is
these
that
fucking
like,
bunkers right here. There's no way.
No, they did
Not as
just like
bad
you
as
said
the
though.
Thin
They
Red
put a
Line.
camouflage net on it. You can't even tell it's a bunker.
What is
Look
that
at it.
camouflage net
no,
gonna
that's-
do? It's like-
That's the Millennium
it's
Falcon.
just
if you
basically
tell
a
me.
blanket over it. You can still see there's a big
Yeah.
edifice right there.
No, this is the 1940s. People were dumber. I can't
Yeah.
tell that's a bunker.
Okay, yeah, these guys right here, these
The
guys right
biggest
here,
fucking target. Yeah.
like,
They're just
okay,
gonna sit in front of
this
it.
thing goes off. These guys, their ears are,
Yep.
are blowing out their heads.
This is the bridge battle, by the
And
way.
everybody's gonna be fucking shooting at that.
Yep. Oh
so
yeah.
like, what the
it's-
fuck are you?
Why do they have the Czech hedgehog like in their defenses? Did you see that? Like, yeah, why is this here? This is something that would be on the road. I don't think they even had dragon's teeth like in other places other than like the Siegfried line.
Right, that was a later thing, from
Yeah.
what I understand.
You don't see it in Normandy.
They're very difficult to build.
Well, they were pre-war cast and
Mhm.
put in place,
And
so they
They're
shipped
all
west of
connected
them.
too. They're not. It's not like they're individual blocks. They're all
Mhm.
connected on the bases.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, and you know how we got over it? Fucking bulldozer
Yep.
Shermans. I love the ingenuity.
I mean, think of it though. Like a lot of those things still exist. So that just shows how. Like,
I'm trying to
powerful they
figure
are.
out why they just decided to put a fence down this earthen levee that's not even like barbed wire. It's just like a random fence.
Yeah. There's some wire for you. It's
Yeah.
some just regular like
Just
cattle
throw it
wire.
out there. Yeah.
Actual
But, like-
European wire would be barbs every inch.
But you just saw him like crawl under that fence, and there wasn't any barbs on it or anything. Just
Do we want to see 1 second here? Share my screen. The Estonia scene.
Yeah,
the
sure.
Eastern Front.
Yeah, the Eastern Front. Yeah, I'll pull up real quick. The other thing I was gonna say was the repro German helmets, when they are abysmal in this movie.
Like this one right here.
Yeah.
That one, the guy, because this kid is wearing an actual size 64 M42.
Yeah, with the
Well, I
lip.
feel like the heroes, the actors. I'm saying heroes quotation marks mean like
Yeah, I
in
know.
film. That's how we different. You had
Okay,
to put the
Nathan.
prime. You put the prime gear up on on the guy who's in front of the camera, and you put fucking the shitty repro on the guy 4 lanes in the back.
Yeah, because that
And-
one on the other side of him, like just one guy down,
Yeah.
is a fucking repro. And it's
So
a shitty repro.
What about his friend here who's sitting down?
It's a shitty repro. You can tell with the fucking vent
Yeah.
right there.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
an M42 with a fucking M35 fucking vent,
Okay.
and it's like stamped, like pressed into the fucking
like
helmet.
pressed into it.
Yeah. This is an M42 shell. It's an original shell. Well, that one in that scene, I don't know, but
Comes
like
a
he's
T-34.
yep.
It's a T-34-85. But
That's what I meant, dumbass. You know what I'm talking about.
Everyone is testy tonight. Let's go.
But they've all
I
got
love it.
K98s in this scene, from what I remember. They've all got K98s. Why not just reuse them?
You know.
That's a K98. Yeah.
Because this is Russia. You can't
they're
bring
in
the
Russia,
guns from
Mike.
Russia.
Come on.
He
you
brought
can't
his
do it
helmet
in
back and
Holland.
used it to execute that kid. So, I mean,
See,
if you bring your
boom.
helmet back, why can't you bring your fucking rifle back? You know, you lost your helmet when you got wounded.
I will say the one thing, they may not get certain aspects that we've all talked about right, but the one thing I did notice is that all the firing rates seem to be pretty accurate for our nerd
Yep.
brains.
Mhm.
It's so weird how some movies get that right and
Oh
some
my
just
God.
don't.
Dude,
Yeah, 'cause
like,
Yeah.
look at that
nice
star
flash.
muzzle flash. That is from the Action Essentials pack. Like, I have that. I know that muzzle flash because I used it in all my Plastic Apocalypse films. Like, oh my God.
Why did you stop that? I hope it was
Yeah.
worth it. I hope it was
So when
worth
are we
it.
getting Plastic Apocalypse
I've seen
too?
comments of that like
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it never ends. And they're invading my channel now. Like, I hope it was worth
Hey,
it.
Michael, what's your next project?
It's a plastic apocalypse.
Plastic Apocalypse
Plastic
2.
Apocalypse,
Dude.
Plastic. Come on,
You could not-
Plastic
You cannot
Apocalypse.
pay me to do another stop motion. Those things will suck the life out of you.
I can mail
Doing
you a
stop
Cine
motion.
special if you want to use film.
No.
You're gonna have to
Let's
spend.
do-
You're gonna have to
click,
spend a hefty
click.
amount on getting new army men because he sold all of them.
I
Live
sold all those
action
bitches,
Plastic
yeah.
Apocalypse. Live action
Oh,
Plastic
don't worry,
Apocalypse.
Mike. I have whole shits if you want to borrow my plastic.
Oh,
army.
thank you.
If you want to do Plastic Apocalypse too.
I guess I have no
Plastic
choice.
Apocalypse.
Yeah.
No, we're gonna make
Anyway,
you do it.
in this. So that's
Let's see like a room movie where it's like the making of Plastic Apocalypse.
that's a legit. Yeah. So these helmets are like they'd be legit for 44 for sure.
Look at that, guys. He's got it like.
But yeah,
way
that one,
cocked up,
the
it's
guy
touching
that's
his
like
nose.
struggling in the background, that's like looks like a Swiss fucking M18. That's a fucking repro.
The funny thing
clearly.
is, you see it in this movie, and I see it in tons of movies. Like with the German soldiers, like the extras in the background, they always make them like pull their helmets down kind of over their face so you can't see their eyes.
Well, no, he just fell, and like that's why that's.
But
that
I
way,
see
but,
that,
like,
yeah. But I see this kind of thing so many times. It's like I think it's
Yeah.
just a way of dehumanizing them to where they
See,
don't
I
want
would,
to see
maybe.
their eyes.
I would rather it go over their eyes than have it like this.
But just be like a little
Because there's a
thimble
guy
on their head.
there's a guy a few scenes later. All their helmets were like
yeah.
What do you call that?
They got
Thimble
thimble
head?
Well, I
We
mean,
call that
where it
thimble
rides
head?
high.
as much as like you can get like cheap repros and stuff too, you can get cheap repros that fit, so they don't do that.
Oh, someone's
But
got hit in the
also,
head.
like by this point, they would have covers as well, like sporadically and nets and shit. You can camouflage a cheap, shitty repro with a net or a cover.
Yeah, and that the
the PPSH guy.
the
yeah.
machine gunner got hit in the head too.
Yeah, I will not lie. I got a semi chub with that 41 going off. It was nice.
I know, right? My favorite part is when his like little like friend he's trying to protect or whatever walks out there, and the PPSH guy just peeks
Ugh.
over the picket fence and just goes
so
and then sits
bad.
back down.
It's so
Yeah.
bad. It's like green
Just-
screen.
We'll get
bad.
there.
It's
Drills
like-
him like 7 times in the chest.
Oh,
This whole
that
sequence is just
ricochet
horrible.
in the hole.
Yeah.
Yeah, just it's bad.
I want to see the PPSH guy in slow motion shoot his friend in the chest.
You'll
8
see
They
times
it.
try
and
their
then
best.
Squat back behind the
It's
picket
like-
fence.
It's surprising we even made it further than this. You know, it's like
So let's jump into final thoughts.
Why don't you do it, Nate?
You're up, Nate.
No,
No, I don't even want to have a closing thought.
no. I mean, no. I mean, like, I mean, I guess it'd be better than going last. Going over this whole movie, myself and then with you guys, it's like, there are very certain things I liked about it. I really liked the sets. As I've said before, I really liked the flooded town section. I really liked the gliders. I even liked, I liked even the whole entire concept of like, they had one guy who was really critically injured and they had to ferry him, and how they were able to kind of, do this makeshift raft and all that kind of thing. I thought that was interesting, and it was good. And then, like I said, once they get out of town, it's like, what is going on? What is this? What am I supposed to be focusing on? Is it a resistance movie? Is it an action movie? Is it a espionage movie? Is it a commando movie? Is it a squad movie? Like, it's just like, what the fuck are we doing? And
It's a market garden.
it's a market
movie, can't
garden
you
movie,
tell?
Not
and
much of one.
yeah. I mean, here's the thing. I see the efforts in areas, and then I see where they're trying to do these little things here and there, and the gunplay is peh,
Awful.
peh. We've seen worse, and we've also seen a lot better.
Hey, at least their SMLEs were real.
Yes. Squad.
There's one really bad scene with a fake rifle though.
Yes.
You guys saw that?
Yes.
It's like a dollar store rifle.
Yes, I had
Like
see that. Yeah.
Rubber.
There's also
They-
pattern 14 and model 17 in the charge scene at the dike, which is funny.
There is also a couple 14s or 17s in there.
Which
There's
is not good.
I liked the acting. The acting wasn't terrible. I mean, I actually liked the acting. But it just fell all over the place, and so there's more I want to chime in on. But really, the squad tactics were terrible. The weapon handling was terrible. Again, like we said, it's kind of like they have all these props, but they're all kind of afraid of what they are. Dude, you gotta stop jerking
Just
off.
let it go.
Bad weapon handling. Mike A loves that.
You love
Sorry, handles like a cat.
Sorry. I just realized when I did, I'm like, oh, they're gonna hear that.
Weapon handling.
every fucking time.
Sorry.
I tried to roll through it, but Mike B laughed and I couldn't hold back.
Sorry.
I
It's
tried.
fine.
I tried to fucking stifle it, man.
I realized right after I was like, oh, they heard that.
Give me your O face.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Roll your eyes next time so I know it's real.
Oh.
But no, it just was. I'm gonna do it like this. I liked half of it, so I'm gonna give it straight down the middle. I'm gonna give it a 5 Scream Mel Gibsons out of 10. I could give it more. I liked the attention to detail, in the set design and the kind of theme and the feel and just Holland but the whole later half, I just don't know what the hell's going on. What is this story? What is this inner conflict? The stare down in the field. Don't even get me started. His guys would have just shot that dude in the head
So
the moment, it's just, I know, piss off. So I understand the points, but it's just not, it wasn't for me. So yeah, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10 tonight. I think it's lucky to get that, because of the first half of the whole movie. Really good. I really liked the first half of the movie. And then once Draco died, it was so. Avada Kedavra. Mike A, go.
So yeah, again, for me, it's a massively missed opportunity because, clearly they had a budget to make these grandiose sets, and you can tell with the amount of equipment that they had, they could have gone the extra mile to make it look really good, to make it look right, but instead, whoever was the advisor for this just fucking shit the bed, and with German, Canadian, British, like that whole stuff, and but there are a lot of elements that are really good, like we say, and so it's just like it's a massively missed opportunity. The story for me is just so fucking bad. It's not the worst thing ever, obviously, but I'm just like, I just want it to be better. Like I just want to grab the knob and like switch it to the better mode, if that makes sense. Excuse me. So that's how I feel about it. It's like when I'm watching, I'm like, God damn, it's just another massively missed opportunity. That's how I felt when I watched. I mean, it's a completely different kind of movie, but Hacksaw Ridge. I'm just like, Jesus Christ, dude! You got all this cool shit, you got all this stuff, and you do this. What the fuck? So, I think I'm gonna give it a 4. Like I say, there are some good things about it, but it's just for me, the writing, it's the story that they chose to go with for this subject. It's like, really, man, this is what you came up with. Please don't do that. So 4 for me. I'll give it to Mike B.
All right, yeah. I think you guys are spot on. And yeah, like Nate said, the first half for me until you get to like a little bit after, well, yeah, basically when Malfoy dies. But I thought it was a little bit before that. I thought it was when they landed, and then as soon as that boat went past them, with 3 fucking guys in MG42 on it.
Almost like comedically, yeah.
I was like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Like what's going like,
That did annoy me as a boater. It's like
those
fuck,
fucking
dude.
Germans would have spotted them immediately before they even got past that fucking line of cattails or whatever the fuck.
Because the
grass that
moment you
was.
would have passed a marsh entrance like that, the very first thing I do as a boater is I look to the left
Is
and
look
the right of
around.
me the moment I go in through a causeway. Like
Nate's just a better Nazi. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, well,
Nate's a better Nazi.
that's what it is. That's what it is. Yes.
You caught
that's
me.
what I'm-
No, it's like, and also their position was like,
I hate Illinois Nazis.
dude, if you're, I fucking hate Illinois Nazis.
Fucking
What are you
Illinois
gonna do about it,
Nazis.
Whitey? We're gonna
Yeah.
get that son of
That's
a
a good
bitch.
scene.
Anyway, so let's say that scenario played out the way that they showed it in the movie. Why in the whole chicken fried fuck are you going to be 5 to 6 feet out in the water, right out in the open, and not in those fucking in that grass? We'll call it, because I don't know what kind of grass it is. Why would you not be laying down in the fucking grass, like in the water? It's like anybody can fucking see you. They would have seen you before you were, like when you were stomping up and there's water, moving unnaturally because there's people walking and running through it. They would have seen you through the fucking grass. But say they didn't, right? And for me, that was when the movie was fucking over. I'm like,
there's
okay,
an endangered Holland platypus that lives in those reeds,
hey,
so they can't walk
it's a
through it.
war. Who gives a fuck? Right?
Nate, the butterflies at
That's
Gap.
exact. Thank you.
What?
No, there's turtles. There's shit all around that at military bases. That yes, trust me.
It's a long story.
Just real
No,
quick.
I know I know exactly.
Okay, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I know
Okay,
exactly
okay,
what the fuck
okay,
you're saying.
Thank you. Yeah.
I know because it's retarded.
Yeah.
But like,
Can't flank them today because the butterflies are there.
Butterfly sanctuary in the middle of fucking artillery range.
Yeah.
so anyway, that was when it lost me because I'm like, okay, now we're getting into like people who have zero military experience or like historical knowledge are just writing a war movie, right? Before then, it was like I thought the fucking who fucking snorted.
You even heard that one? Oh my god!
Mike Ace turned on by bad writing.
Sorry, I'm just like
Jesus.
I'm doing my
Sorry.
thing again. I didn't think you'd
Go.
hear that.
Sorry,
one.
go.
Wow.
I heard it. Go.
Mike, I hear everything. I'm Woody on Toy Story, motherfucker.
Your head's gonna spin all the way
Yep.
around.
Yeah, if I could, I would.
nice.
Anyway,
So play nice.
okay.
So anyway, but yeah, it turned into a shit show from there on. It's like until then, like the whole fucking connection thing with the sergeant and the his dad and whatever. Who gives a fuck? That's in every movie. It's retarded. You can look past that as long as everything else is okay. Now, that whole scene that I was talking about in the top of the 2 hours ago, of like the whole market garden, like they're flying over there, right? They're gonna drop the fucking airborne troops, whatever. That was really fucking cool. I think it showed like what those guys, because everybody thinks market garden, they just flew into Holland and then they dropped everybody and there was no resistance and blah blah blah. No, not the fact. So I did like that fact, but that was it for market garden. That was it. It's like you're talking about one of the most giant and pivotal operations of the war, good or bad, and you just go, okay, we're gonna do this flying scene that's fucking epic with the gliders. He gets hit, he has to disconnect, blah blah blah, and then it's over from there on out. Like it was so shitty, like the whole fucking resistance shit. Yeah, I get that, but also it was just lazy, right? Very lazy in my opinion. So I'll stop ranting now, but I totally agree with Nate. That's why I gave him a thumbs up, like when he gave his score, because that was the exact score I had in my mind. The first half was okay. I appreciate what they were trying to do. It is a Dutch film, which nothing against the Dutch except everything. 5 out of 10, solid. And so this is one that I would not recommend somebody like waste 2 hours if they don't want to. But if you've got 2 hours, it's not the most terrible thing in the fucking world.
The way I'll say it, if you already pay for Netflix, give it a watch.
Sure, there you go.
Don't buy
you go.
Netflix just to watch it. So there you go.
Right. And it's also the time thing because it is 2 hours.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
so
yeah.
it's like if you've got 2 hours and you just don't give a shit and you just want to watch something somewhat mildly entertaining, which it is, go for it. But if you want to see something historically accurate, no. So 5 out of 10. Felonious. Go ahead.
All right. Well, I wasn't all that interested in this movie, even the first half. I mean, I'm not a filmmaker or anything like that, so I sat down just watching it as like a historical context person, just watching it. And like I work overnight, so I was literally yesterday night watching this movie at like 2:30 in the morning, just being like, yeah, I don't have anything better to do. So I just sat there and I watched it, and but it was not great. I wasn't all that entertained by it. I didn't think it was that forgotten of a battle. I don't think Market Garden's really all that forgotten of a battle. I didn't really get the vast majority. There's little like 10-20 minute intervals in this movie that are okay to watch. About a half hour of the movie I'd say is actually worth watching. The rest of it you don't really need. There's cool bits and stuff like that if I was like somebody just scrolling through YouTube like watching something, I would much rather watch this movie in like the 10 or 20 minute cool parts. And I don't need the rest of it. And I didn't like the plot of the movie. I didn't like a lot of the historical accuracy of the movie. I didn't think it was really worth all that much of a watch. I mean, if you're like World War II stuff and things, I guess it's all right. But from a person that's not a filmmaker sitting down, like understanding how cool it is to have a flooded city, I thought it was a pretty boring movie that missed a lot of the context. And I was not super entertained by it. And there was a lot wrong as somebody who's a Canadian historian and stuff like that. And this is like one of the few parts where there's a chance to do Canada justice, which never happens. It missed it entirely. And so, I mean, I'd give it a 4 out of 10. It is something to watch. There is parts of it that are good, parts of it that are entertaining, but the vast majority of the plot line and the vast majority of this movie just doesn't need to be there. I feel like it, rather than making this like a full feature film, if it was a bunch of people just trying to put together something cool with like a bunch of reenactors to do 2 10-minute videos on YouTube, it would have been much better than a full feature length film. But it's all right. But I'm, like I said, coming into it as somebody who understands a lot of this history, who has no film background, and I just was not all that enthused about it. But I sat there and I watched the whole thing. I didn't sit on my phone. I didn't do anything. I still watched the whole thing. I mean, do I need to see it again? Probably not. But I mean, it's not a bad movie, but it's just not the right movie for me, is how I would describe it. But I'd give it like a 4, because the scenes they did right that you don't see in other films and stuff are good. Like the flooded town one and the like plane crash and the gliders and stuff like that. That part's good. That part of the movie's good. I'd watch that again, but like the rest of it, not so much. So, but yeah, I'd give it like a 4 out of 10. There's just, it doesn't have a lot of redeeming factors other than a couple minute windows during the film. The plot's not there. The historical accuracy is not there. It's missing.
What would you give it?
4 out of 10.
Okay. I just wanted to do that because then you said it 4 times and it's beautiful.
Yeah. And so it's just, that's what I'd give it. If it had a redeeming factor, like a good plot line or some better historical accuracy, it would be more entertaining to watch. But like, if you don't have a good plot and nothing really worth watching that I haven't seen before, I don't see the point. So, all right, Nate, you're up.
Nate already went, dude.
Brian's up.
It's
It's
Brian.
okay. He works nights. It's okay.
No worries.
Sorry.
Yes. I can't believe you just called me Nate. Ugh. Anyway,
Yeah, not good.
Gotta be a Midlander.
I'm the only other person here that actually like grow facial hair, so I get it. But no. There's not a lot I can really add to this. I mean, really everything has been touched upon. It's just a really sad movie, in that it's such a waste. You have all this funding, you have all this, energy, you have all this will to make this cool World War II film, and then it just turns out to be this like really long checklist of a plot that's meandering and stupid and doesn't make any sense. I mean, like we said earlier, is it a Dutch occupation movie? Is it resistance Dutch movie? Is it an Eastern Front movie? Is it a market garden movie? Is it a movie about Canadians and liberation? This movie is like 1,000 different fucking things, you know? And it's just, it goes to show the problem today with filmmakers when they try to like bite off something that they don't understand, or they, you know, too much naked chew. And you just end up with really good ingredients getting just wasted on a shitty cake. You know, this project really needed someone to sit everyone down and say, really? Do we need that plot line? Like, really? Do we need that? Like, it just needed a little bit more oversight and someone with the balls and the historical knowledge, and it would have been awesome. I think this really could have been a good film. But like I said, it just unfortunately fell victim to the fallacy of mainstream filmmaking today. You know, it's just not well made. It's sad. And I don't know. It just I wish it was better. We all wish it was better. Yeah,
Yep.
you know.
Yep.
And like we said, it does have cool parts. I love the glider sequence. Don't get me wrong. I think that's really cool. And there's nothing else that will hold a candle up to that for a very long period of time. Because there's no really other glider things out there. That was really fucking cool and very interesting, and I enjoyed watching that. And that made it worth it for me. But everything else was like, why? I'd much rather talk about Brazilians in Italy than, you know, fucking
Smoking snakes.
this movie.
Horrible characters.
Yeah.
Horrible fucking characters. I could not care less about that British guy. That ended up with the
Which
one that ended
one?
up with the Canadians, like the main British guy.
Yeah, the guy that, as far as we know, that's Devin's grandfather. Like, you know, he just became he just like fuck this.
You know, his
royal
dad
roots or
knows
whatever he has,
Churchill, by
like,
the way.
Yeah, like literally, he like, you know, like incognito Canadian. Like when he sees his friend at the end, he doesn't like, oh, I'm going back to the airborne now. He's like, I'm now a Canadian. Like what? You know,
I live here now.
Yeah, right. You know, you move. So like the end of the film, they should have like, and he moved back to Calgary and had 14 children. Like
Your score.
What's your
for
score?
the movie?
6. It's a, you know, I didn't want to be too shitty with it because I could see the quality of the ingredients, but it really is a bad movie, and it's more worth it to watch as a lesson in what not to do with films than it is to watch it. You know, it's a very good learning experience if you're a filmmaker, and it's just something to watch if you're on a plane, if you're a person. Like, you know, it gets you through something, gets you through A to B, you know, long commute, college class, shift at work. You know, like if you want to get through something, or just watch the highlights on YouTube, and that kind of, you know, good to go. So, adding up all the scores to see if the next time they depict Canadians, if they actually will have the correct tunics.
In Paul Gross's next film,
We're gonna gross out here with a 4.8 out of 10. So on par with our scores. You know, venture forward at your own risk.
We are not lined up with IMDb, by the way. IMDb has this at a 7.1.
Well, you know,
Yeah, this movie was really popular when it came out, and I'm just like, really?
Disagree.
People
hard,
like
hard
war
disagree.
porn this much?
anyway,
Yeah.
Devin, thank you so much for joining us. I learned a lot. I had no idea about the SMLE D-Day thing. That's really fucking cool.
yeah, it's
And,
a thing everyone forgets about.
The
So
problem,
if you're doing D-Day and you have a number 4, you're wrong.
the problem is that we're running out of Canadian movies. I think
There's
there's
not
only
that many
one
of
left.
And I haven't seen a good one yet. So
It's sad. It's very sad. To me, watching this last night and the other time I saw it, I was like, wow, Canada has like one good-ish kind of movie that's modern. And now after hearing you, I'm like, wow, no, they don't. Like, there's this.
If I wasn't like a Canadian expert and I was just watching this, I would have just been like, those are all British people.
Yeah.
100%. Like they got some of the shoulder insignias right, but the rest of it is like, why even bother?
Yeah.
If you didn't put shoulder insignia on them, they are indistinguishable from British people.
Well, I'm excited to see Stormy and Juno with you at some point.
It would be great.
But I'm also saddened because that's the last Canadian thing we have. So we'll have to convert you into a Commonwealth expert or something.
I can do both.
Yes, you could be a switch hitter.
I can do both.
But I was thinking about it today. It's like, if somebody ever does anything, this is a free idea to anybody listening. If you want to do a really cool Canadian story, do Ortona. That's really fucking insane. And if nobody knows about it, and yeah, Ortona 1943. Around this time, actually, I think it was October. really crazy battle. It's like the Canadian Stalingrad, basically. Fallschirmjägers versus Canadian troops on the
There
east
you
coast
go.
of Italy. So,
Gotta have it.
right?
But it's not any of the things that anybody would recognize, so nobody wants to do it because there's no recognition on it.
Well, there will be
Yeah,
once
right.
it's
I'll
been
be-
done.
Yeah,
Yeah,
once Devin
but-
makes
should
it,
name
so-
that the Forgotten Battle because I've never even heard.
It
of
is a
that.
forgotten
Yeah.
battle.
the Forgotten
Yeah.
Battle 2, Devin's
Devin Booker.
you know,
We don't need
Devin's
a-
War.
We don't need a shit ton of market garden
Def-
movies that have the hits features to Russia in them. We don't need that.
Devin's War.
Devin's War.
I'd watch that.
Mostly that's just getting shot at by snipers and mortared and pissing
Pushing
on
people in.
anything I could find.
You know, I was thinking the other day when I realized that you were going to be on this post. Or we should wrap this up and then I'll go and then I'll talk about this.
I'll end it with this. So, we just want to know what it's like to have a daddy who's buddies with Churchill. You'll be sipping tea at Buckingham Palace when it's over. Don't watch this movie. See you guys next week.
You should have
Oh,
told
good
the
heavens.
posh
That
British
sound like
member of
fucking Alfred
society
Hitchcock.
And said, hey, oh, good heavens. I wonder what it's like to be the son of a British officer in the Royal Air Force who knows Winston Churchill properly.
Thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to leave a rating. Otherwise, Mel Gibson won't stop screaming. If you like this content, make sure to check out our Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram pages. If you want to directly support our work, make sure to check out our Patreon. All these links are in the description below. Until the next time, Scuttlebutt out.